Yo legends! Welcome to Fanfiction Legend. Grab your headphones because today's story is about to hit different. Disclaimer: I do not claim ownership of this story. All rights belong to the original creators. Konoha, Tsunade, I'm the Hokage. Chapter 21. Is he really only 7 years old? Chapter 21. Is he really only 7 years old? Yashamine Kyouhiko. Saruto by Hiruzen has been thinking about this name often recently, and he has been paying more attention to the child. A nice young man. He has talent, ideas, and mature thinking. If guided properly, he might become a pillar of Konoha's future like Minato, but Tsunade came over this morning. Did something happen? Saruto by Hiruzen reached for the pipe, but forced himself to hold back and put it down. Tsunade said, Aunt Tauhua went through life and death for my father, but she got nothing in the end. I should take care of her only descendant. Saruto by Hiruzen couldn't accept this answer! Even. He felt like there was a group of people pointing fingers at him and saying that he wasn't doing well enough. Saruto by Hiruzen was silent for a while, then said, I can still give him some water escape technique and illusion technique. Need not. Tsunade raised her eyebrows and immediately refused. Saruto by Hiruzen was surprised. Don't want? He's only 7 years old. Why does he need so many high-end ninjutsu? Jingyan is very smart and he has a good foundation. He will learn many techniques naturally, and there is no need to teach him deliberately. Oh yes. Saruto by Hiruzen was in a trance. That child is only 7 years old! The other person's behavior is too mature, so he always subconsciously thinks that the other person is not that young. Remember to send it over there, Tsunade said as she waved her hand and closed the door. Leaving the office, Tsunade couldn't help but sigh. Jingyan doesn't need any specific ninjutsu at all. What he needs is basic theory and knowledge. Kyouhiko, you don't need to practice powerful ninjutsu right now, and don't bother with the Rasengan for now. Teacher, I really need it. Kyouhiko quickly shook Jiraiya's hand, not caring about being polite. This is a Rasengan! Jiraiya rolled his eyes. You even dared to try Tsunade's super strength technique yourself. I dare not teach you that technique now. Don't think about it secretly. Practice the basics for me. When you fully master that technique, the Rasengan will be useless to you. Okay. Jingyan was helpless. It seems that there is really no way to make an exception, but it's okay! If you don't teach him, he will practice on his own. He originally thought so, but the next second, Jiraiya leaned over and whispered. Tsunade went to the third Hokage and got the notebook of the second Hokage. ! Jingyan instantly forgot about the Rasengan. The meatballs can be rolled at any time, but the notes of the second Hokage are not always available. He forced himself to suppress his excitement. Really? You were able to use your strength for the first time, and your injuries were not serious. This means that you have basically met the requirements, but your body is lacking in strength, Jiraiya explained. Then he took out a bag from his arms. This is for you to buy. I will slowly take a cut from your mission rewards later, Jiraiya said calmly. Jingyan looked closely. A thing similar to weighted leggings, but it is tied to the hands and is specifically designed to train the muscles and strength of the hands. How much does this thing cost? 150,000, Jiraiya replied. He said helplessly, I borrowed all my savings to pay off my debts to Tsunade. In the short term, I will be penniless just like you. How much does Lady Tsunade owe? Sihihong couldn't help but be curious. Jiraiya pointed a finger. 1 million? Kakashi asked. Jiraiya glanced at him, his tone tinged with sadness. 10 million. There weren't so many originally. The gambling debt of the Blue Flower House was actually only about 3 or 4 million, but the Matsuyama family had more than one business, and Tsunade had also visited several other gambling houses. In addition, the other gambling houses were also well informed, and many of them came to collect debts after learning about the situation. So, after some investigation, it was found that the gambling debt amounted to 10 million. What a tragic story. There was silence for a while. Jingyan secretly calculated in his heart. It is almost equal to 1/3 of the earth. This is only part of Tsunade's gambling debt, and it's only for a little over a year. If Tsunade is given a few more years, God knows how much debt will accumulate. Fortunately, no one in the ninja world dared to lend Tsunade high interest. Otherwise the interest would compound and she would not be able to pay it back in the end, of course. If it really comes to that, the one in danger may not be Tsunade, but also those gambling houses. Jingyan complained to himself. We have agreed to the commission from the Sungshin family. It is best not to leave the village before they come. It is a good opportunity for us to exercise. Let's do a D-level mission today, Jiraiya said as he took out the mission sheet, same as usual. Carry water. Jingyan put on hand weights. Now his hands and feet are carrying weights, making it difficult for him to be as flexible as before, and even carrying water has become difficult. It's not just him. The same goes for Kakashi and Kyouhiko. They all wore weights of varying levels, and when performing D-level missions they had to extract chakra to maintain the strength to carry water and move forward. This is a kind of training. Persevere and hold on, and your body will become stronger faster. In the afternoon, the three of them were extremely tired, but they just took off some of the weights and ran for exercise in a relatively light state. 2 days in a row. On the morning of the third day, Jingyan had just got up when there was a knock on the window. Who? He asked vaguely, holding a toothbrush in his mouth, while coming over to open the window. Jingyan was slightly startled and quickly brushed his teeth and rinsed his mouth. Tsunade-sama, hurry up and get dressed. Come downstairs when you're dressed. After Tsunade finished speaking, her figure disappeared from the spot. A moment later, Kyouhiko came downstairs and Tsunade was already waiting in the courtyard. In front of her, there were many books piled up. All these are. Jingyan was stunned. Tsunade nodded. I didn't take the complete ninjutsu. These are all my second grandfather's notes on studying water escape, illusion, and other ninjutsu. There are also many basic contents. You can take a look and absorb its principles and knowledge. Jingyan was almost petrified. Tsunade and Jiraiya truly treat themselves as top geniuses, but everyone knows their own business. He is not a genius at all. He is just standing on the shoulders of giants. Fortunately, these books are indeed what I need most. He flipped through a few books and felt that they were more and more valuable. Some of them are diaries, some are deduction processes and insights, such as the relationship between water waves and water waves, which are written on them. The thought process is not much different from Jingyan's. Compression and condensation. With the help of highly concentrated water chakra, a high-pressure water blade is formed that is powerful enough to cut through everything. Thank you, Lady Tsunade. Jingyan thanked him solemnly. Unless you are like Naruto, who is born with a foundation laid by his parents and has an extremely powerful special physique, the foundation is the cornerstone. Without a solid foundation, all other skills will be useless. Tsunade smiled and said, just don't blame me for being stingy. How come? Jingyan shook his head. He sighed, then was puzzled. The principles and methods in these books are not accessible to ordinary people, so why not pass them on? Actually, there is. Tsunade said, during the second Hokage's time, he built the framework of the ninja school and also guided the third Hokage to incorporate a lot of basic knowledge into it. The textbooks you see are the result of generations of compilation. The knowledge in the school is good, but it lacks the process of advancement. After graduating from the ninja school, we are still far from being true genin, so we need to lead the jonin, but I think the ninja school should be more than that. Jingyan said. Tsunade was stunned for a moment, then asked, what do you think should happen? Grading and classification. Teaching students according to their aptitude at a certain stage. For example, my classmate Might Guy has a very poor talent for ninjutsu, but is very strong in taijutsu. If such a person stays in the ninja school, isn't it a waste of time? End of this chapter. Chapter 22. The ninja school system is unreasonable. Chapter 22. The ninja school system is unreasonable. Lack of flexibility. Tsunade concluded. Jingyan nodded. Yes, in my opinion, high-end ninjas need a lot of theoretical knowledge, but at the level of Genin and Chunin, practice is better than theory. He then gave examples of climbing trees and treading water. As a Genin, do I need to know why climbing trees and treading water can improve my chakra control ability? No, I just need to know that using this method can make me stronger. Tsunade was deep in thought. Jingyan's words, she had never thought about it before, but at first glance, it seemed to make sense. For most genin, many theoretical foundations are useless and there is no point in studying them in depth, but if you want to upgrade from a genin to a chunin, some knowledge is necessary. But this was founded by the second Hokage. The second Hokage is great, but he also has his limitations. The system itself should change with the times. But a lot of the knowledge is useful. Tsunade frowned. She was not arguing, but debating with Jingyan and herself. This kind of thing needs to be done with extreme caution, and one must be sure that the direction is good before implementing it. You think that a chunin needs this knowledge, right? Jingyan said. Tsunade nodded. But you also said that it is only needed when you become a chunin. It should not be something taught in ninja schools. Instead, it should be something that you need to improve and learn after becoming a genin. Jingyan said. Tsunade thought about it and couldn't help but agree in her heart. Genin in actual practice, what is used most are the ninja's experience and combat skills. Classify and grade. Tsunade's thoughts gradually became clear. They stuffed a lot of theories into the ninja school, but in fact, for most civilian children, these theoretical knowledge did not quench their thirst and could not make them stronger. From their perspective, instead of learning all that, it is better to understand the general idea and spend more time on improving your strength. At least in this way, you can survive on the battlefield and in missions after graduation. Only by living can there be a future. This idea is correct. Tsunade thought about it and said, "That's a good idea. Do you have anything else?" "I'm just talking about what I've encountered and thought about. How would I know how to do it specifically?" Jingyan sneered. Tsunade rolled her eyes. "So you just told me?" "Yes. Aren't you going to wait for news in the village recently? You have nothing to do anyway, so you have to find something to do. Doing bees is better than going to the casino and losing money." Jingyan answered naturally. Tsunade thought that was the case at first, but later on, she couldn't help but feel her veins throbbing. "Kid, do you want to be beaten?" "What words? Does that mean I will definitely lose money?" "But thinking about my luck, okay. Winning money is indeed worse than losing money." Tsunade calmed down her anger and said, "Move in. This is all we have this time. I'll get the rest after you've looked at it." Besides, Jingyan was shocked. Tsunade nodded. Of course, without sufficient knowledge and practice, how could so many ninjutsu be created? She sat aside, looking calm and composed, with no intention of helping. But in reality, Tsunade was thinking about what Kyouhiko said. The ninjutsu taught in the ninja school is very basic, and the fighting skills only include kunai throwing and basic physical skills. It can be said that not much is taught in terms of combat. It's not so bad if you come from a good family. However, it is very unfair to ordinary people. What Jingyan meant, obviously, he was suggesting that she do this to promote the reform of the ninja school. Tsunade has the prestige, but she also has her own concerns. Jingyan was reading a book nearby. She was lost in thought. The two did not disturb each other. After a long time, Tsunade stood up. "Take your time to read the book. I'm leaving now. If you have any questions, go to your teacher. It is good." Jingyan didn't look up. He was absorbed in the book. The diary in his hand contains some miscellaneous thoughts and knowledge. Judging from the words written, the content should be related to the creation process of the shadow clone. Senju Tabarama is truly a genius. Jingyan couldn't help but sigh. Before I knew it, I started to feel long rumblings coming from my stomach. He is hungry! Look outside. The sun was shining brightly, the heat was scorching, and he was already sweating profusely. It's already noon? Jingyan couldn't believe it. He lowered his head. I have only read 4 or 5 notes. How can I finish reading them? All things have their priorities. I will pick out what I need most first, and then take my time with the rest. Jingyan regained his senses. These books are valuable, but also time-consuming, and he doesn't have that much free time to study them. First look at what you need, and then turn it into strength. What we need most right now, of course, it's the shadow clone. He got up and left home, went to have a meal first, then searched for a while and finally found Jiraiya at his house. Jiraiya seemed to be writing something, as there were some barely noticeable ink stains on his hands. What's up? Teacher, I want to learn shadow clone. Jingyan said. Jiraiya was stunned for a moment and said, you want to use it to read? Well, I will practice the skills I need at the moment and let my shadow clone read the book, so that both will not be delayed. Jingyan nodded. Jiraiya said with a serious expression, this is a method, but it is very dangerous. If you are not careful, you may even die. You must grasp the scale and don't take risks. I see. Jingyan nodded. Jiraiya immediately taught him the hand seals and tricks of the shadow clone. Its difficulty is B level. Jingyan had read books before and knew some of the ideas behind the technique. Getting the seals and tricks of the technique would save him time in studying it on his own. When he got home, he studied it and tried it again. Thanks to his improved chakra control ability and the notes of the second Hokage, he quickly got the hang of it soon. In the skills column, the ability of shadow clone has been added. After trying a few more times and figuring it out, it comes to the proficient level. These ideas and tips can help me improve faster and save a lot of time. Jingyan understood. This gave him more motivation to read. Shadow clone technique! The clone appeared, looked at each other, and then sat down quietly to read. Jingyan started exercising. According to Senju Tabarama's notes and his own ideas, the process of honing the compression property changes can be used as an exercise for chakra manipulation ability. In the evening, Tsunade found Jiraiya again. How about it? I thought about it carefully and felt that it was feasible. These are the parts I thought of. There shouldn't be too much resistance. Jiraiya took out his own outline. It says on it, practice by climbing trees and stepping on water. Basic ninjutsu training. Physical skills. Teamwork. Tsunade also handed over a copy she had written, which was the direction she thought could be changed. Cultivate in advance. Jiraiya was a little surprised when he took it. Pre-training talents suitable for becoming medical ninjas. To be precise, it is to train ninjas with intentions and talents in advance. A lot of knowledge involved in medical ninjas needs to be mastered in advance and cannot be achieved overnight. Tsunade explained. Jiraiya nodded. He understood that he was just shocked by Tsunade's generosity. This is different from joining a course. For the ninja school, it will directly change its system and operating model. This guy was very depressed before, but suddenly he is full of energy again. Is Jingyan so capable? Will she have to rely on Jingyan to keep her after this? Jiraiya pondered. Tsunade discussed in a low voice. What I'm worried about is the old man, the old ghost in the Anbu, and the 2 consultants. They are all very old-fashioned. They didn't support me when the medical ninja thing happened. Ahem, don't call Danzo that. After all, he was once a student of the second Hokage and has made many contributions. Jiraiya coughed lightly. Tsunade curled her lips in disdain. That was before. Now, what do they do? Well, Jiraiya sighed, knowing that what Tsunade said was true. Not to mention far away. As for the matter of Hadake Sakumo, the third Hokage must at least bear the responsibility of indifference and inaction, but the situation of the Anbugai is even more difficult. He vaguely felt that something was wrong at the time, but he didn't expect Sakumo to go to such extremes. Talking about this, he and Tsunade both felt a little bored and disappointed, but seeing the outline in their hands, Jiraiya and Tsunade became excited again. Should we go ask Orochimaru? Him? Tsunade thought about it and nodded. Okay, if we can get his support, the three of us can submit it together. It should be a sure thing. Ah. End of this chapter. Chapter 23. Is he the son of prophecy? Chapter 23. Is he the son of prophecy? 2 days later. Under your wise leadership, the medical ninja early training plan has been approved and will enter the trial operation phase. Reward: increase the level of strange power by 1 level. What is Tsunade so mobile and how could it be so smooth? Jingyan was a little surprised, but when he thought about it carefully, he realized that it might not be smooth. In what he said a few days ago, practical ability is the key, and early training is only a very subtle branch of the grading and specialization he vaguely mentioned, but in the previous tips, there are no additional courses on practical skills and techniques. Jingyan sighed softly. Medical care: one is that Tsunade is indeed authoritative, and the other is that Konoha does need medical ninjas. Medical ninjas are so useful! Over the years, they have saved many lives on the battlefield and in missions. With Tsunade promoting the early training of medical ninjas, it would indeed be easy to pass the test. But others it will take a long time to come to an agreement. The truth was just as he thought. At this moment, there was a roar in the conference room of the Hokage building. In front of Tsunade, the huge conference table was smashed into pieces of wood chips. She was angry. Do civilian genin really need so much complicated knowledge? It's hard for them to even survive on the battlefield. Many genin die on the battlefield. Tsunade, you are not the only ones who have been on the battlefield. We also came out of the fighting. Danzo lectured in a cold tone. Yudatane Koharu said, the rules of the ninja school were set by the second Hokage. Bullshit. The second Hokage also said that children should not be allowed to go to the battlefield. How many have graduated early in recent years? You don't mention the second Hokage's rules at this time? Tsunade said in an irritable tone. Tsunade. Yudatane Koharu was shaking with anger, but she couldn't refute it. All right. Sarutobi Hiruzen kicked the debris at his feet, his expression helpless. Tsunade, Jiraiya, we can try to train medical ninjas in advance, but the reform of the ninja school is too serious, especially in the current situation, so let's wait and see. Zilai was also helpless and a little resentful. We finally have a brief peace now. If we don't actively guide and change it, do we have to wait until war to change it? He now identified with Tsunade. These old guys are too old-fashioned and stubborn. They only want stability and are unwilling to change. They won't listen to many things. Sarutobi Hiruzen was silent. Finally, he shook his head and said, there shouldn't be another war in the next few years. Let's stabilize for a few years and then observe and see what happens in a few years. All countries and villages have suffered heavy losses in the wars of the past few years and all need to recuperate and restore the strength of the villages. According to his judgment, no ninja village would take action again and start a new war, so be it. Tsunade stood up and said nothing more. She is very disappointed. Tsunade, stop drinking. In fact, you and I both know that nothing can be discussed in the first meeting. It is already very difficult to get the plan for the early training of medical ninjas. Jiraiya admonished. Tsunade shook her head. She had another drink and then fell into depression. I am not doing this for this reason, but because the teacher who used to be wise and intelligent in my eyes has gradually become dull, decadent, and lacking in courage. Jiraiya was silent for a while after hearing this. He poured himself a glass as well. After a while, Jiraiya said, what do you want to do? Become the Hokage. Tsunade's eyes sparkled. She slammed the table and stood up. In the hands of these old men, the village will only slowly decay and decline. Tsunade's tone regained some of its composure. Then, she looked at Jiraiya and spoke earnestly. Jiraiya, you have to step up and fight for the Hokage. I will help you. Jiraiya rolled his eyes, stood up, and left. I'd better go check on Jingyan. This kid has recently learned how to clone himself. If he loses control and kills himself, I'll lose a good disciple. After Jiraiya left, Tsunade took the wine glass but didn't drink anymore. She looked out the window with a dark and uncertain look. Jingyan did not practice any supernatural powers, but was experiencing and pondering them. Skilled level of supernatural powers! When reaching the skilled level, the gathering and release of chakra will be more subtle. Jingyan read many books and came to the conclusion that small-scale use at this level should not backfire on oneself. With his current level, he cannot launch terrifying attacks as easily as Tsunade or Tobirama Senju, but the real point is not being able to use super strength in actual combat. Although it was only an upgrade of one level, the knowledge, insights, and the kind of improvement that went deep into his bones benefited Jingyan a lot. It's like a master-level teleportation technique. The difference between beginner and advanced level of supernatural powers is huge. In reality, Kyouhiko's abilities hadn't changed, but his chakra control had become more subtle, allowing him to quickly refine physical and mental energy and focus it quickly. This is the basis for the mature use of supernatural powers. One method applies to all methods, and many techniques are interconnected. This fundamental improvement can also be used for water escape, instant body movement, etc. It is a greater improvement than any single ninjutsu. From beginner to proficient, it is the advanced level of chakra control, but my body is still very fragile and I can't use it continuously. You still need to train your body. Also, compression should be the next step. Compressed chakra. This kind of technique is not only used in the super strength technique, but also in the Rasengan and water severance techniques, but at different levels. This is also what Jingyan is currently studying: compression. This technique also has different levels of skill. At the low level, it can be done with the help of shadow clones like Naruto did, but that is a route that requires great strength and is not suitable for him. You have to work hard to reach a high level. For example, the water-breaking wave created by Tobirama Senju is the ultimate manifestation of the nature of compression, although sometimes practicing more is not as good as getting direct rewards. Jingyan kept exercising and keeping fit in the hospital, but after a while he felt it was not enough. This kind of exercise is too simple and cannot provide any training effect. The yard needs to be transformed. He was busy all morning. When Jiraiya climbed up to the top of the wall, he saw that Jingyan had flattened the weeds and wild flowers in the yard, and set up wooden frames with sandbags hanging on them. What is this for? He was confused, and then he saw Jingyan punch out several sandbags. Then bang 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 exclamation, the sandbag bounced back at him and knocked him to the ground. Fortunately, the sandbag has no edges, so it hurts but is not fatal. My goodness, are you training your physical instincts? No, Jingyan is wearing weights on his hands and feet. Jiraiya was secretly shocked. A very cruel way of training. This guy is cruel to others and even crueler to himself. Only 7 years old. How did others practice like this when they were 7 years old? Not to mention, at this time, there was another shadow clone in the room, sitting there and studying very hard. Behind the scenes of genius are written blood and tears. How can it be as glamorous as others see it? Jiraiya sighed. If one trains like Jingyan so madly, even an ordinary person would have a promising future, not to mention that he has excellent talent. This child will have a bright future. The most rare thing is this child has a maturity and thinking that does not belong to his age. Is he also the son of prophecy? Jiraiya thought to himself. This idea was absurd, and he had a feeling that everyone he met was the son of prophecy. Along the way, Jingyan was already the third possible child of prophecy he had met. The first one is Nagato. Since you have the Samsara eye, you are naturally qualified. The second one is Watergate. Today's Minato is already the most powerful among the young Jonin, and has even mastered forbidden space-time ninjutsu such as Flying Thunder God. The third, the 7-year-old child in front of me. Jiraiya hid his presence and figure, sat in the dark, and thought in his heart, will there be a smaller one in the future? Probably not. The child of prophecy is likely to be born among these three. Jiraiya firmly believed it. End of this chapter. Chapter 24. It's only been a few days, and you've made progress again? Chapter 24. It's only been a few days, and you've made progress again. Jingyan kept punching and dodging, using numerous sandbags to hone his physical instincts in order to overcome the negative effects of excessive speed. After practicing for a while, he sat down to rest and released his shadow clone. The vast amount of knowledge poured in, making his head extremely tired and his ears buzzing. This is the physique of ordinary people. You can't keep up the shadow clone all the time, otherwise you will easily be attacked back, and even death is possible. Jingyan rubbed his temple. As I was thinking and digesting, a bag fell in front of me. Eat what? Jingyan looked up, a little confused. Jiraiya smiled and said, the hospital's special Bingliang pills. If you train like this, how can you sustain the consumption without Bingliang pills? Thank you, teacher. Jingyan was indeed hungry, and he was seeing stars in front of his eyes. If Jiraiya hadn't taken the military grain pills, he would have planned to eat outside after taking a breath. This was his first time eating Bingliang pills. Unappetizing, but after taking it, the energy conversion is much faster than eating. Hunger is relieved in a short time, and you feel less weak and sluggish. How about it? No wonder it has become a mainstream food. It's really amazing. Jingyan was amazed. Jiraiya left one bag and then looked serious. Although Bingliang pills can replenish physical energy, they cannot replenish spiritual energy. If the spirit is exhausted, you will die anyway. Teacher, I know. Jingyan nodded. He values his life the most, so how could he possibly train himself to death? Jiraiya then smiled. The Sungshin family sent a letter saying they might come to Konoha tomorrow. Don't train too hard. It's best to go to the Konoha hospital to get the bruises removed. He then stood up and left without saying anything about the meeting. Jingyan didn't ask either, because there were probably a lot of unpleasant things during the meeting, and Tsunade might even have smashed the table. From what he knew, this was very likely to happen. In the evening, Tsunade came again, the scent of shower gel wrapped in the smell of alcohol. She was carrying a bag in her hand and was very rude. She climbed over the wall and didn't even go through the main door. The virtues of the three kinds of patience are about the same. Jingyan complained in his heart. He stood up and saluted. Tsunade-sama, how was the reading? Tsunade said. Jingyan answered honestly. Although these are all basic things, they are very inspiring to me. It's effective in such a short time. Tsunade was a little unconvinced. There is a long way to go from what is written in the book to actually mastering and applying it. Tsunade glanced at the shadow clone, worried that Kyouhiko was rushing things. You can check it out. Jingyan is very confident. Some things are immediate, such as water style, water wall mastery as an important water style defensive ninjutsu. Jingyan studied the books of the second Hokage. Thanks to the improvement in chakra control ability brought by the improvement of super strength, he successfully reached the mastery level after several attempts. The mastery level water array wall has more precise chakra control and can control the range and defense level at will. Next, he would try 2 seals of the water array wall. However, that requires deeper understanding and exploration, and cannot be mastered simply by reading books. At the moment, Jingyan formed seals with his hands. Thanks to his usual training and accumulation, his fingers were very flexible and he completed the seal quickly. Water escape water formation wall exclamation water gushed out of his mouth and turned into a high wall, rising about 5 steps around him. As one of the 3 ninjas, even though Tsunade doesn't know water jutsu, she has definitely seen quite a few water jutsu ninjas. With Jingyan's level, he can already be ranked in the middle stream in terms of the water array wall alone. From last time till now in just a few days, he has made great progress! Tsunade got serious. At first, she just wanted to help this talented half-member of the tribe. And now, she vaguely connected Jingyan with her deceased relatives. If Nawaki had half the ability of Kyouhiko, he wouldn't have died. Tsunade's eyes dimmed. Tsunade-sama, I heard from the teacher that things are not going well. I don't think you need to take it to heart. Any changes, kid, that's none of your business. I just thought of something else. Tsunade restrained her emotions. She looked away and threw out a scroll. Take it and have a look. Don't practice blindly. What? Jingyan took it. Open the scroll. There is no title, just the main text. The ink is very fresh and looks like it was just written in the afternoon. Content. It's the magic of supernatural powers. Is this a strange power technique? Super strength? Well, you can call it that. It's actually pretty much the same as what you imagined. It's the rapid extraction, concentration, and explosion of chakra. But it's easier said than done. Tsunade's expression was serious. Like you, do you know where your problem lies? After reading the notes of the second-generation master, my biggest inspiration is that many things are similar in principle. Chakra is like speed. If it is too fast, it cannot be effectively controlled and will eventually backfire on itself. Ah, thinking so far you have such a high level of understanding. Tsunade sighed inwardly but looked calm on the surface. It's not difficult to find a problem. The key is, do you have a solution? Slow down the speed and reduce the power. But when necessary, I think I can increase the power at the risk of getting hurt. I can't be limited by this, Jingyan answered fluently. The answer is fast. These contents are the solutions he obtained after he was promoted to the next level, but slowing down, weakening is also relative. For ordinary ninjas, the chakra control and physical strength required for skilled level super strength techniques are still at a very high level. Tsunade smiled. It's all theory, but can you do it? I didn't try it because I was afraid of getting hurt, but I feel like I can do it. Jingyan was not up to standard before, but now, chakra control ability is no longer a problem. This is the charm of skill +1. But Tsunade had repeatedly warned him not to experiment casually, so he couldn't say that he could do it. Then try it, Tsunade said. Jingyan was a little surprised. You don't have to see it to treat it, Tsunade said calmly. Jingyan nodded. It is good. He stood up, recalling the tips and key points. Then, Jingyan brewed the chakra in his body, slowing down the speed of refining and gathering. After a while, bang! Exclamation! The ground cracked and sank, forming a fist-sized hole the size of a wash basin. Jingyan checked his arm. Lady Tsunade, you are not hurt. Let me see. Tsunade felt relieved and came over to check the injuries. After sensing and confirming, she nodded slightly, but she was extremely surprised in her heart. It actually happened! Exclamation! This guy, what a genius! Exclamation! She didn't know what kind of talent and condition Senjutabarama had as a child, but she thought it was not much different from Jingyan. In fact, even she wasn't sure if Jingyan was right. Because Tsunade has a strong talent for chakra control, she has been able to use her supernatural powers at will at an early age. The only things that limit her are her age, chakra, and physique. Like insufficient chakra control, she has never experienced it, so it is difficult for her to come up with an effective way to disassemble it and reduce the difficulty. The troubles of genius. Now, Jingyan has figured out a way and made it happen! Exclamation! Try increasing your chakra a little bit. It is good. Jingyan tried again, this time the speed of chakra extraction, gathering, and compression is 10% to 20% faster than before. Immediately, bang! Exclamation! One punch. The ground cracked and the earth and rocks shattered. The power is definitely more than 10% or 20% greater than before. Did you find it? If I raise it a little, the power will be greatly affected, but I feel that this is almost my limit. Raising it further may put a strain on my body. Jingyan talked about his own experience. You can't compress chakra fast enough, so it's hard to increase the power, but you can control chakra very meticulously, which is your advantage. Tsunade sensed it carefully and couldn't help but sigh. Although you have lowered the difficulty of this technique, it is still impossible for ordinary ninjas to learn it. For silence, the simplified supernatural power created by Jingyan is still a forbidden technique and cannot be easily learned or tried. End of this chapter. Chapter 25. If you call me sister, I will protect you from now on. Chapter 25. If you call me sister, I will protect you from now on. The threshold of supernatural power is here. Getting started is extremely difficult. In the past, there were even many within the Senju clan who were unable to master it, let alone many ordinary ninjas. Tsunade pondered for a moment. I'm not worried about your ability, but don't teach it to other people for now. It's not that I'm hiding it from others, but it's a very dangerous technique. I see. Jingyan's expression was serious. The family knows their own affairs. If it weren't for the system, even if I knew how to use it, it would be very difficult to just get started, let alone risk getting hurt. The consequences of ordinary people learning randomly, possibly disabled. Like Haruno Sakura, she has good talent in this area, but it still took her a lot of time to train to master it. Tsunade's words were by no means alarmist. Her expression relaxed, as if she had let go of a worry, and a smile appeared on her face. A package was thrown over. Jingyan opened it and took a look. The whole package of military ration pills filled an entire basket. A look of joy appeared on his face. Tsunade-sama, don't use that name. According to your grandmother's generational level, we can barely be considered siblings. Tsunade said. Senju Momoka is not closely related to Senju Hashirama by blood, but she is highly respected and has a good relationship with their family. Jingyan hesitated. Tsunade raised her eyebrows and moved forward, with a magnificent and shocking scene. Do you think I'm too old to be your sister? No, no, no. This is a proposition. Jingyan didn't dare to agree. He waved his hand quickly. I was thinking, if you're my sister, then what about me and the teacher? It feels so confusing. This is not a conflict. Jiraiya has an opinion. You tell him to come to me. If you are mad at him, come to me too. Tsunade leaned against the edge of the wooden frame. She tilted her head, looked at the quaint house, and then smiled. You said before that you wanted to be Hokage, right? Okay. Sarutobi can take the position of Hokage, but I can't. With the Naruto system, if you don't become a Hokage, what's the difference between you and a salted fish? Jingyan is determined in his goal. Tsunade smiled and said, then you have to work harder. I will fight for the position of the fourth Hokage. When the time comes, you have to work harder to take over the position of the fifth Hokage and strive to take over from me as soon as possible. Do you really want to fight? Jingyan was surprised and delighted. Tsunade chuckled. It's just talk. Do you think I can be Hokage as I am now? Can. Jingyan said with certainty. Tsunade was stunned. She smiled and said, don't try to comfort me. How could that be? People of my generation grew up listening to your stories, and besides, Jingyan hesitated for a moment, but still spoke his mind. I think you might want to think about it from another angle. What ideas do you have, little brat? Tsunade looked towards Kyouhiko. After hearing what was said before, she went and slammed the table in the conference room. What is it this time? Jingyan said. Since you are not born with a fear of blood, then this is an acquired disease. Since it is a disease, why don't you try to treat it? Heal. Tsunade was stunned for a moment, then couldn't help but laugh. How can it be so simple? I read the section about illusions these days. It mentioned that among illusions, there are techniques that can affect emotions. Logically, there should be drugs that can affect emotions. If you can be happier every day, perhaps many mental illnesses will get better faster. Mood. As the #1 expert in the medical field, Tsunade certainly knows that there are indeed some medicinal herbs that can have a positive effect on emotions, but she had never thought of using them to treat mental illness before, and so there are 0 finished drugs in this regard. She thought for a long time. You can try, but the problem is that it's very risky and difficult to do experiments. Try it on ninja beasts first, Jingyan suggested. Ninja beasts are highly intelligent and can communicate, so they should be more suitable for this type of experiment. Tsunade shook her head. It's not that easy. At least we have to treat the symptoms to be sure that this method is really effective, and even if it works, what's the point? I think we are not the only ones who lost loved ones in the war. Some people can adjust and relieve themselves, but some may not be able to relieve themselves, such as my friend Kakashi. Jingyan finally mentioned Kakashi. Hadake Sakumo, Kakashi. Tsunade seemed to be thinking about something. She put her hand on her head and looked at Jingyan, then stood up. I have a lot of work to do now, let's think about this later. By the way, this bag of military ration pills is not just for you. You can take some for yourself, and the rest will be a little bit of interest I give to Jiraiya. You can help me give it to him tomorrow. Oh, I know. It turns out not all of it is mine. That's fine. Jingyan's mood suddenly became much calmer. The next day, in the Konoha Hokage building, many ninjas heard yesterday's noise. Today in the building, many people were whispering and speculating about what happened yesterday. Among them was Hamano Takabana. He was having an intense conversation and discussion with the Chunin next to him. Kyouhiko followed Jiraiya inside and soon heard them whispering. He stepped forward quickly. After listening for a few seconds, he lowered his voice. So, who did it? Need I say more? It must have been Tsunade-sama who smashed it. Jiraiya-sama is a very frivolous person, but he doesn't have such a temper. He just likes to do some Amana, Ryu said in a low voice, but soon he noticed that the atmosphere seemed wrong and the whole place was extremely silent. Hamano Lai looked up and was petrified. The person standing in front of him was Jiraiya, and behind him, Tsunade had a dark face and unfriendly eyes, and looked like she wanted to kill someone. His legs went weak and he almost buckled at the knees, but luckily he managed to hold on to the table in time. Jingyan retreated behind the 2 men, hiding his achievements and fame. Jiraiya-sama, Tsunade-sama. Tsunade was obviously more feared, because Tsunade really dared to do it, and in everyone's impression, she could heal people after beating them up, so she might not even have sick leave. Hamano immediately bowed deeply. I'm sorry. Tsunade had a cold expression on her face and went upstairs alone. The few Chunins who were chatting with her immediately disappeared, leaving Hamano standing in the wind with a disheveled look. Yu Haihong covered her mouth to suppress laughter. Jiraiya tapped his fingers lightly on the table. Lai, you have to be careful in Konoha from now on. Hamano Tatsu gritted his teeth. Master Jiraiya, I won't dare to do that again. I don't mind. Hee, all right, let me handle it. There should be a commission from the Sanshin family arriving, right? Jiraiya said. Hamano Tatsu was very friendly and started looking for it right away. Soon. Yes, Mr. Matsuyama Ikiro has arrived. He is in the side hall. As he spoke, he had already taken out the warrant. This is a letter of authorization. It is good. Jiraiya took the documents and walked next door. In the side hall on the first floor of the Konoha building, a middle-aged man was sitting in a seat with a young Jonin sitting next to him. After seeing Jiraiya and the others, he quickly ended the conversation, said hello and left. Judging from his appearance, he should be Narashikaku. Master Jiraiya, my name is Akira Matsuyama. Nice to meet you. If there's nothing else, shall we set off now? Can you wait a moment? I have a batch of goods that I bought from the Nara family and will sell to the land of waves. Matsuyama Ikiro said. Then when will we set off? Afternoon can. Thanks to book friend 150,819,231,257,091 for the 500 coin reward. End of this chapter. Chapter 26 Jiraiya, did you do this on purpose? Chapter 26 Jiraiya, did you do this on purpose? After eating ramen, Ikiro Matsuyama set off with his convoy in the afternoon. On the way, he chatted casually with Jiraiya. The purpose of this trip remains the same, which is to conduct a transaction with Cardo. However, according to his inquiries, Cardo seems to have supported several gangs in the Kingdom of Waves and is not very polite in his actions. He was worried about being robbed. This point was mentioned by Koji Matsuyama before. Jiraiya took this order, of course, not just for the money and the intensity of the Super Sea-level mission, but also because he was curious about the Land of Waves and Cardo. Do you know this man, Cardo? I don't know him very well. He suddenly rose to prominence in recent years and squeezed out many of our old customers. Ikiro Matsuyama sighed. He glanced at Jiraiya and couldn't help asking, Master Jiraiya, they are all trying to seize the leadership of the Wave Country. Have you ever considered sending people there? The Land of Waves. Jiraiya really didn't know what the situation was in the Land of Waves. These matters are currently under the jurisdiction of Danzo. He pondered for a moment. Is the situation in Wave Country very bad? It's a mess. Ikiro Matsuyama had a serious expression as he spoke of the current chaos in the Land of Waves. It looks like the Wave Country is full of local gangs fighting for territory, but in fact, many of them are supported by the Water Country and the Lightning Country, so it's all chaos. The Land of Water, the Land of Thunder. Jiraiya frowned. The location of Wave Country is indeed very concise. It is close to the Fire Kingdom, but is located between the Thunder Kingdom and the Water Kingdom. It is the middle area between the three countries on the sea. He opened his mouth slightly, then fell silent and said nothing. Entering the Land of Waves, given the geographical locations of the Land of Fire and the Land of Waves, it would definitely be more suitable, but as a pursuer of pacifism, he felt that this was not right. Jingyan didn't say anything. Winning over the Wave Country would definitely be beneficial to the Fire Country and Konoha, and as the Hokage, he would also be able to make some money from it, but theoretically, I'm only 7 years old and shouldn't know about the Land of Waves. Let's go to the Land of Waves first. After you have taken a tour of the place, you will naturally have some insights when you look back. What a genius! When people are created, everything is reasonable. All the previous efforts were not in vain. Jingyan sighed inwardly. After a moment of silence, Jiraiya sighed and said, let's wait and see. There are some things I can't decide. Ikiro Matsuyama heard that Jiraiya didn't want to talk anymore, so he bowed and said goodbye immediately, going to the back of the caravan to discuss follow-up business matters. Jiraiya glanced at Kakashi. You have nothing to do anyway, why not play some ball? As he said that, he threw a balloon to Jingyan. Do me a favor and fill it with water, but not too full, it is good. Jingyan filled the water ball easily without making any hand seals. Gif. You can refine water chakra so quickly without forming any hand seals. How many days have you been reading improved again? Jiraiya was stunned for a moment, but quickly handed the water ball to Kakashi. Just use chakra and find a way to break it, it is good. Kakashi took it. He walked and thought, and after pondering for a moment he gathered his chakra. The chakra was under his control, rushing around like a sharp sword, but no matter how he manipulated it, he could not control the chakra or the liquid to break the water ball. Like it's not as easy as you think. He frowned. Jiraiya chuckled, glanced at him, and said, Kyouhiko, do you want to try it? May I? Of course. Jiraiya nodded. Jingyan took the balloon filled with water. Soon, the water and the ball began to swirl and collide chaotically, and then the surface of the balloon was violently collided until bang! Water splashed everywhere. It exploded. Kakashi blinked. Uchiha also blinked. Then, she glanced at her companion quietly. Fortunately, the other person was wearing a mask, so I couldn't tell what his expression was, but Jingyan was really amazing. He was able to burst the water ball on the first try. Jiraiya was extremely shocked, but as a qualified team leader and a Jonin who had been hanging around the streets for years, he was very thick-skinned and did not show his emotions. It doesn't seem that difficult once you get the hang of it. Jingyan clapped his hands, wiping off the water and balloon debris from them. Jiraiya calmly handed over the balloon. Well done, you don't have to try, make one for Kakashi. Uchiha suppressed a smile. It is a pity. PFFD failed. Noticing the gazes of Jiraiya and Kakashi, her face flushed slightly and she quickly explained, I didn't mean to laugh. I just thought of some funny things in the past. Jingyan suppressed his laughter. Obviously, her explanation failed to convince Jiraiya and Kakashi. Kakashi has thin skin, but the mask hides his expression so his face can't be seen. However, his eyes are very gloomy and don't look very sunny. Jingyan did it easily, but he failed to complete it, which was a big blow to him. Jiraiya has been through many battles and is not afraid of other people's eyes. He was calm and composed. Then you practice the second stage. You practice this and Kakashi practices the balloon. After Jingyan filled the bottle of water and handed it to Kakashi, he took the ball from Jiraiya. As for Red, Jiraiya let out a strange laugh. Zihahang was a little timid at first, but later she came to her senses. I laughed so hard, I couldn't swallow it back. Just use whatever tricks you have! She thought she was going to practice too, but Jiraiya threw a big package at her. You can carry these and think of them as weight training. Zihahang quickly carried the package on her back. Kakashi stared at the balloon with a dagger-like gaze. In the past, he was always considered a genius by others, learning everything very quickly, as if he didn't need to practice. Although only he himself knows how much effort he put in behind the scenes, but ever since the class was divided, he was disliked by those Chunins and then assigned to the same class with Jingyan. He always felt that he was living in the shadow, as if he had become the group of people who used to watch him. Kakashi clenched his fists. It doesn't matter! I'll be able to do it soon. After a while. Oh. Kakashi brushed off the crumbs on his hands calmly and looked at Jiraiya and Kyouhiko, but thinking that the other party had already completed the balloon test, he didn't seem to have anything to be proud of. He was immediately frustrated and lowered his head. Teacher, I'm done. Well, you should start practicing with the ball as well. This also requires you to use chakra to burst it. It's 100 times harder than a balloon. You can play with it for a while. Jiraiya threw the ball over. Kakashi caught it and tried immediately. The ball quickly deformed, but it couldn't be broken. After trying for a long time, puff. A strange sound. A small hole appeared in the ball, and air slowly came out of the hole, and then the whole ball deflated. He failed. Kakashi was unwilling to give up, but he also knew that the ball was indeed difficult. He thought of several solutions such as shadow clone, but his chakra was not enough to support such an attempt, and that incomplete usage did not meet his needs. Jiraiya threw another one over. Kakashi didn't act immediately, but thought about it secretly. At this moment, the ball next to him made a loud noise. Bang! The ball in Jingyan's hand exploded. Kakashi's hand that got the ball suddenly froze, and he stared at the ball in Jingyan's hand. At this moment, even the mask could not hide his expression. He was very surprised. How could this be? Jiraiya finally couldn't hold it anymore. This kid, it seems like he is going against him! I had just finished speaking when he broke the ball. Couldn't he have done it a little later? Look down. The ball in Jingyan's hand exploded and broke into pieces quite badly, not just one or two holes. This guy really did it! Jiraiya was internally shocked. How did he do it? How did you do that? Compared to Jiraiya, Kakashi is relatively simple and direct. I can't understand, just ask. Otherwise, he felt like he couldn't sleep at night. Everyone is new to it. So why was Jingyan able to master it so quickly? End of this chapter. Chapter 27, Young Man, Don't Lose Your Temper. Chapter 27, Young Man, Don't Lose Your Temper. Because I have been practicing in this area, I was able to do it quickly. It's not that my talent is really much better than yours, Jingyan explained and comforted. I can tell. The young man seems to be a little depressed. This is not what I meant. He wanted Kakashi to know that there are always people better than you, that individual abilities are limited, and that one must rely on the strength of the team and partners. He did not want to make Kakashi mentally unbalanced. That would be a huge loss! What if the reward is deducted due to loss? Mask trembled, and after a few seconds, Kakashi asked, Really? I have been practicing the changes in the nature of compressed water jutsu, hoping to be able to integrate it into the water turbulence. Although this is not water jutsu, the principle is the same. Kyouhiko replied kindly. Jiraiya gave him a deep look. How could he not know Jingyan's previous level? He is strong, but only compared to people of his age. In fact, he believes that his ability to compress chakra is not enough to reach his current level. Otherwise, before, when Kyouhiko used that jutsu on Tsunade, with his chakra, he shouldn't have been injured that badly. He has definitely made a lot of progress in the past few days! Could it be that Jiraiya also had a guess? He understands. Tsunade asked for the second Hokage's book and showed it to Kyouhiko. The main purpose was to improve Kyouhiko's basic insights, knowledge, and chakra control abilities. If you improve it, you may have the hope of truly mastering supernatural powers, but it has only been a few days since I received the book. What rapid progress! Jiraiya collected his thoughts and glanced at Kakashi, unable to help but worry about him. He hadn't paid much attention to it in the past, but he knew that Kakashi had grown up in the praise of others and had always been known as a genius. Now that a more talented person has appeared, Kakashi's self-confidence might be hit, but he didn't say anything. If Kakashi really became depressed because of this, he would only look down on him even more. For Kakashi, the current situation might be a good thing. As a ninja, you should be tenacious. A few hours later, it was already evening and Jingyan got off the carriage. At the dock, the people of the Matsuyama family had already started unloading and loading cargo, which included wood, stones, and medicinal herbs from the Nara family. There were more than a dozen ships outside, an astonishing number. No wonder he needs someone to shelter him. If such a big business were to be robbed by Cardo, the Sanshin family would suffer a huge loss. While I was thinking about it, Ikiro Matsuyama came over with his guards. Jiraiya-sama, you can just call me and come. Jiraiya smiled in response. Ikiro Matsuyama didn't dare to shout, but said, It's like this. We'll set off tomorrow morning, and we'll reach Wave Country from the dock in an hour. Would you like to rest on the boat and have a meal? Okay, but there's no rush now. My disciples are practicing on the shore, so it's not very convenient to go to the boat. Zilai also laughed. Ikiro Matsuyama nodded and did not force it, but he did not leave immediately either. Instead, he looked around with an apologetic look on his face. Master Jiraiya, you can see that this batch of goods is very large. The fact that we are in debt is that we in the Matsuyama family do not have sufficient cash on hand. The other families are not what we in the Matsuyama family have publicized. Don't worry, it's a fact that Tsunade owes money, and it's only natural for you to collect the debt. There's nothing to say. Jiraiya knew what the other party meant. Besides, with Tsunade's ability, it's only a matter of time before she becomes famous. It's better to stop it now than to be visited by debt collectors in the future. Even though our family runs a casino, gambling is really bad. Kiro Matsuyama coughed lightly. Tsunade loses wherever she goes. There are already rumors about the big fat sheep in some places, but the scope of spread is not very large at the moment foreseeable. If Tsunade continues to gamble, she will only lose more and be in greater debt. It's really good to stop loss now. Jiraiya didn't dwell on the topic too much. Mr. Sumption, let's put things aside. You don't have to worry about that. I'm mainly worried about the land of waves. According to the situation you described, if enemy ninjas intervene, don't worry, I know the rules. If the other party has ninjas involved, we are willing to pay a commission that matches the situation. Kikiro Matsuyama immediately assured. Jiraiya nodded, the smile returning to his face. Gambling debts are gambling debts. The commission cannot be reduced. After the deal was settled, Ikiro Matsuyama was completely relieved and went back to the boat with a smile. Jiraiya looked around. Finally, he saw Jingyan at a place on the shore and immediately walked over. Kyouhiko, what are you doing? Teacher, I am practicing water ninjutsu and want to try to reduce the size of the water wall seal when I am near the water. Jingyan explained. Part of the hand seals in the water array wall is to create water chakra, but if there is water around, theoretically some steps can be omitted. In the land of waves, such techniques would probably be more useful. After hearing this, Jiraiya couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Jingyan can be said to be an elite among the elites of the same age, but he is not proud or complacent at all. This kind of mentality is truly rare! He nodded slightly. Using water escape near water can indeed save some hand seals. After talking about some technical stuff, Jiraiya paused and continued to ask, did you learn super strength from Tsunade? I haven't mastered it yet. I've come up with a method on my own, and it's roughly usable. Lady Tsunade has also looked at it and said it's fine, but it may still be a little difficult for others, so she asked me not to teach it to others. Jingyan answered truthfully. Under the moonlight, Jiraiya seemed petrified. As Tsunade's teammate, he knew the situation of that technique too well. According to Tsunade, there is only being able to learn and not being able to learn super strength. There is no middle ground. What the hell is roughly usable? This surprised him more than when Jingyan exploded the ball during the day. Jiraiya couldn't help but wonder. Can you show me? Of course. Jingyan accumulated and increased his chakra, and after a second he stomped his feet hard. Boom! The ground collapsed, revealing a pit as big as a wash basin. It couldn't compare to Tsunade's extraordinary strength, but because of this, Jiraiya was even more shocked. Through perception, he roughly understood the principle. Slow down the release rate and reduce the size of the chakra in exchange for safer use. It's theoretically possible, but to do this, very precise chakra control is required. This is not something that can be compensated by training, however. Having such conditions is completely different from thinking about it, doing it, and completing technical optimization. Many people may not be able to optimize a technique in their entire lives. Like Tsunade, her mastery of supernatural powers has reached perfection, but she still cannot simplify it or reduce its difficulty. What an amazing kid. After a long while, he nodded absent-mindedly and replied, yeah, just listen to Tsunade. I mainly want to know the actual combat power of the team members. Are you worried about the ninjas from the Hidden Mist Village? Jingyan asked. Jiraiya nodded. The water country has always wanted to dominate the water. The wave country is close to the fire country and is a key transit point on the sea in this area. The Hidden Mist Village is likely to intervene secretly. He said this with a serious expression. Don't act rashly when you encounter a battle, understand? Your opponent won't care about Genin or Chunin. I see. End of this chapter. Chapter 28. Is this what it feels like to be a partner? Chapter 28. Is this what it feels like to be a partner? In the morning, a gentle breeze blows. The ship slowly sailed out. On the deck, Jingyan sat at the bow, feeling the pulsation of chakra. After a while, he formed a seal with one hand. Wow! Water splashes. Immediately afterwards, a crackling sound was heard on the deck. A fish was washed up. Additional meal, it is good. The sailor nearby immediately cheered and rushed forward to pick up the fish and throw it to the ground. This is the third fish you've caught. Uchiha and I looked excited. After all, she was only 8 or 9 years old, at an age where she was curious about everything. Seeing such a novel use of water escape, she naturally couldn't help but join in the fun. How did you do it? A perception technique similar to the mist-hidden technique. If you encounter a mist-hidden ninja, it would be useful to master this technique. Jingyan explained. Chakra perception is the basic skill he saw in the notes of Tabarama Senju, which was a breakdown of the core techniques of the mist-hidden technique. He had seen a lot of them, but this was his first time practicing one. Fortunately, thanks to the bonuses such as super strength, his chakra control and micromanipulation are strong enough, so it is not difficult to master this basic skill, and he succeeded after practicing for a while. As for the technique to flush the fish up, it is an alternative application of water waves. The two were chatting. There was a loud bang from above. Zihan turned her head, a hint of joy appearing on her face. Kakashi did it. She sensed violent chakra fluctuations coming from the room where Kakashi was. Go and see. Jingyan immediately packed his things. When compressing chakra, if you don't control it well, it is easy to injure your palm. Kakashi must have not had much rest since yesterday. Although Jiraiya is responsible, he is sometimes out of touch and cannot be fully trusted. Now he's gone. I guess he was chatting with Akira Matsuyama, or watching music and dancing on the boat. Boom 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 exclamation. There was a knock on the door, however. For a long time, there was no movement inside. Jingyan and Uchiha and I looked at each other, and then bang exclamation, kick it in. Kakashi, wearing a mask, collapsed on the floor. Only his eyes could move. He was staring blankly at the door. He vaguely saw two short figures anxiously breaking into the room. Then, Kakashi moved his gaze to the ceiling, and his tired heart was touched. Feeling of a partner? His vision blurred, and then his consciousness became dizzy, and he vaguely heard too much chakra consumption. Hold on. I will use chakra to control the water and help him drink the Bingliang pill. It is good. When I returned outside, the door had been repaired by the Songshin family. Jingyan and Zihikiran stood in the corridor, looking at a not-so-long coastline emerging from the sea in the distance. That is the land of waves. The two looked into the distance. Kurenai Yuhai leaned against the window and suddenly sighed. She said, to be honest, Kakashi has always been a genius in school. I always thought that he was talented and it was natural that he was better than us, but now behind genius comes a heavy price. Jingyan nodded with deep feeling. Genius is not scary. What is scary is that they work very hard. Uchiha and I tilted her head, her small eyes filled with confusion. How dare you say such things? Jingyan coughed lightly. I work hard, but I'm just an ordinary person. Zihong couldn't bear to listen any more and waved her hands immediately. I'll go see if Kakashi is awake. Ordinary? Left. Which ordinary person is like you? Zihikiran and I decisively stopped the conversation, otherwise she would have become jealous. If this is ordinary, she also wants to have it! Zihikiran and I went back to her room to read, and Jingyan didn't go over to disturb her. He was happy to rest in the corridor. Soon, they should reach the land of waves. In Kakashi's current state, even if he wakes up later, it would be difficult for him to have much combat power in a short period of time. It would be good enough if he could not be a drag. He needs to stay in good shape to avoid accidents. About half an hour passed. With a cry, we have arrived at the land of waves! There was a knock on the door, and Jiraiya came back with a faint smell of alcohol, and was greeted with a burst of praise as soon as he entered the room. Ha ha ha, not bad. You guys were able to quickly resolve Kakashi's unexpected situation. It looks like we can complete the mission without me. Teacher, it was so loud, and you didn't even come to see it. Uchiha rolled her eyes. Obviously, Kakashi acted recklessly, but Jiraiya didn't care and just drank downstairs. She was quite dissatisfied with this in her heart. Why didn't you come? I was watching you the whole time. Zilai also laughed. As he spoke, he snapped his fingers. The seagull that was resting outside Kakashi's window suddenly turned into foam. A shadow clone. Uchiha's eyes widened. Then her face turned red and she quickly apologized. Sorry, nothing. I just want to see how well you can handle unexpected situations. As for stopping them, with Kakashi's personality, it's useless to stop them, Jiraiya said, biting his finger. Soon, a strong toad with armored iron arms appeared. Psychic art. As the daughter of a Jonin, Uchiha would not be surprised. She looked at it curiously. Teacher. Jingyan came over from the corridor. He sensed the chakra fluctuations and rushed over immediately. Well, you and Hong did a good job. Let's get off the boat and escort Mr. Matsuyama to find Kato. I'll let the iron arm toad carry Kakashi. It is good. Jingyan nodded. Then he handed the weighted arm guards and leggings to Jiraiya, and his body felt lighter than ever before. 3 people and a toad left the cabin one after another. In the eyes of ordinary people, ninjas are synonymous with mystery and power, so when they saw Giant Toad, although they were shocked, they were not overly frightened or surprised. When we got outside, Ikiro Matsuyama had already prepared the carriage. Jiraiya, everyone get in the car. No, we are outside and can protect your safety to the greatest extent. Jiraiya refused. When Ikiro Matsuyama heard this, he was very happy and got into the car after some polite conversation. The land of waves is not very big. This place consists of one big island and several small islands. Many bridges and buildings can be seen from afar, but the bridges only connect some of the small islands and the big island, and many of them have to be traveled by boat. At a glance, you can see many ships coming and going. Zihahong immediately became alert. The environment here is very suitable for an ambush by the hidden mist village ninja! Jiraiya walked in front. The iron-armed toad walked in the middle with Kakashi on his back, and Kyouhiko and Uchiha walked at the end, forming a Chinese character formation. The country of waves is not big. It takes less than half an hour to get from the pier to where Kato is. There was no danger along the way. However, Uchiha seemed a little uneasy, and she ran closer to Jingyan. Kyouhiko, I seem to sense a very hidden chakra fluctuation. Do you feel it? No, but you're probably right. Jingyan answered, his expression becoming serious. Zirahong's perception is stronger than his exclamation, and so. It was very possible that Hong sensed some danger, but he was not aware of it. Don't worry. If there is an enemy, the teacher will definitely find it. Trust the teacher, we will wait for orders. It is good. Zirahong nodded. The chakra fluctuation disappeared, but she did not dare to let her guard down. The carriage drove through a puddle, and the woods on both sides gradually became denser, and boats could be vaguely seen coming and going on the water. In the morning, a light mist filled the air. Things that are too far away cannot be seen clearly. Jingyan refined his chakra and quietly seeped out to expand his range of perception. He noticed one thing. Puddle ahead. End of this chapter. Chapter 29, Kisame, kill Jiraiya? Me. Chapter 29, Kisame, kill Jiraiya? Me. The carriage moved forward slowly. A trace of caution appeared on Jiraiya's face. When he reached the edge, he quickly formed a seal and stepped forward. In an instant, the soil underneath the puddle near the bridge gradually turned into a quagmire. Then, laugh. A sound. A man with a knife jumped out from the puddle. When he saw the appearance of the person in front of him, he was shocked. The next moment, his figure turned into a splash of water. Jiraiya quickly caught up with him. His hair turned into ropes and quickly entangled the other person. However, The opponent's body immediately turned into a stream of water. Hydration. Jiraiya frowned slightly, then immediately spat out special toad oil from his mouth and sprayed it towards the water, but by the time he was about to release the next ninjutsu, the opponent had already run a long distance the other side. 3 figures rushed towards the carriage. Given their position, they were unable to notice Jiraiya's specific appearance. Instead of running away, he was actually charging towards the carriage. Kunai and shurikens flew over one after another, mixed with detonating talismans. In addition, some attacks flew towards Kakashi. The offensive is quite strong! Kyouhiko. Jiraiya shouted. Yes. Without waiting for the other party to remind him, Jingyan had already arrived at the carriage in an instant. The next moment, a wall of water rose from about 6 or 7 meters around it, and the water flow turned slightly, engulfing all the flying shurikens and kunai. Water escape, water formation, wall boom! With bursts of roaring sounds, the wall built by the water suddenly collapsed. So fast. The 3 Kirigakure ninjas were frightened, but they did not retreat. One of them rushed towards Jingyan, and the other 2 rushed towards where Kakashi was with knives and chains, but as soon as I turned around, I saw a little girl protecting Kakashi and the iron-armed toad. Her hands were quickly forming seals, and then her figure suddenly disappeared from the spot. Later, the 2 found that they were tied up by trees and could not move. It's an illusion. Hashigaki Kisame glanced and saw his 2 companions standing still. He immediately realized that the girl had used an illusion to temporarily hold them back. He was just about to help when he suddenly heard a breeze behind him. His body tensed and he quickly formed seals, but halfway through, the sound of the wind behind him became louder and louder. So fast. That's too late. Kisame turned around and saw Jingyan already in front of him. He immediately crossed his hands to block the fist coming from behind, but the force surged from the fist. How can it be? Hashigaki Kisame's not-so-big eyes were now wide open. Before he could react, he was knocked out by a punch and hit a tree directly. Bang! The loud noise startled a flock of water birds. At the same time, Kyouhiko, who was maintaining a defensive posture over there, turned into a bubble. The shadow clone is released. Originally, Jingyan wanted to chase after Kisame, but when he glanced at him, he saw that Uchiha and I had cast a spell to trap the 2 of them, but he did not risk going over, but instead stayed by the slightly chaotic carriage. Don't panic. Surround the carriage and protect Mr. Suvshin, she shouted loudly. In the back, the warriors of the Matsuyama family held swords and protected Ikiro Matsuyama's carriage in the middle. Facing ninjas, samurai are not very useful, but it is better than nothing. Seeing the scene, Ikiro Matsuyama's heartbeat eased a little, but there was anger in his eyes. These people were most likely sent by Cardo! He expected that Cardo might not be a serious businessman, but he did not expect the other party to be so arrogant and hire someone to kill him directly on his way past. It's really gangster style. Fortunately, his nephew recommended Jiraiya's team to him. With Lord Jiraiya personally taking action, my safety should be guaranteed. Kiro Matsuyama huddled in the carriage, looking outside through the gap, just in time to see Jingyan punch a man and send him flying more than 10 steps away. Even a child is so strong. So strong. This guy's strength doesn't match his appearance at all! Kisame spat out a mouthful of blood and struggled to get up from the water. At first glance, he thought that Jingyan might be a ninja who was good at water escape, and he thought he was not afraid of Konoha ninjas in this regard. He never expected that the opponent's ninjutsu was only secondary, and the terrifying speed and extraordinary strength were the real powerful trump cards. Just one punch. Kisame kept coughing up blood and lay on the ground, unable to move. What a terrifying power! It took him a long time to catch his breath, and he could only look up into the distance. The trend is over. Although the 2 men recovered from the illusion, Jingyan knocked one of them unconscious with a punch as soon as they recovered. The other wanted to run away. Pity. He was not facing Kyouhiko. but the even scarier white-haired ninja. That is Jiraiya? Exclamation in an instant, Hoshigaki Kisama's mind went blank. How come he is leading the team himself then? The words of the watermelon mountain puffer ghost when he came here emerged in his mind. There are merchants coming from the Fire Nation this time. The four of you go and kill them. This is your mission this time. Kill them? Uchiha was so frightened that he lost his mind for a moment. No wonder after being discovered, Guideng Man Yu did not attack but ran away immediately. Who dares to go up here? The opponent is the three ninjas! Exclamation when the Ziguashin puffer ghost comes. Everyone has to run away obediently. Hoshigaki Kisame immediately dived into the water and tried to escape, but as soon as he dived, strange noises came from underground with sound. Immediately afterwards, he saw a muddy flow rolling in the river. Earth escape, earth flowing into the river. Jiraiya maintained the seal with both hands as the rolling mud flowed forward and submerged him in an instant. In the chaos, Kisame was unable to use the earth escape technique. When he was washed away a long distance and struggled to get up, the boy attacked him again. Kisame rolled on the ground, trying to avoid Kyouhiko's attack. However, Jingyan quickly formed seals with his hands and finally maintained the posture of a seal. What technique? Water Dragon Bomb? The second Hokage of Konoha seemed to possess a simplified water dragon bullet technique. Kisame read the opponent's hand seals and predicted the opponent's next attack, but the next moment, Jingyan's figure turned into a piece of wood and fell to the ground, and his real body emerged from the water. Behind him, a blanket of white hair flew over. There is no technique! Exclamation the seal just now was just a trick. Kisame regretted his decision and tried to escape with all his strength, but it was already too late. White hair tangled around him. Whoosh! Exclamation his hair shrank and Kisame was pulled in front of Jiraiya, unable to escape at all. Jiraiya squatted down. Ninjas of Kirigakure, why did you attack us? Kisame was silent. As a ninja, he could not reveal his mission, otherwise he would suffer terrible punishment when he returned to the village. At this moment, he only felt deep regret. The moment Guideng Man Yu escaped, he should have run away decisively instead of cooperating with those two idiots to continue the attack, but who would have thought that on such a mission he would meet Jiraiya? Kisame couldn't help but look at Kyouhiko. This guy's speed and strength are amazing, but he looks very young, and it seems that he is probably 2 or 3 years younger than his age. The genius of Konoha? He looked at his two teammates in silence. One was unconscious, the other was being treated by the girl, and their companion was being carried on the toad's back. He thought of himself and suddenly felt sad. The style of Konoha ninja is completely different from that of the Hidden Mist village. Even the three ninjas will lead the team, and injured teammates will be properly accommodated and protected. This kind of thing doesn't exist in their village at all. Even if the opponent was not too strong in the situation just now, he would have tried to kill his teammates to silence them and then find a way to escape. Thanks to MEOW Chinese letter MEOW for the 100 coin reward. End of this chapter. Chapter 30 Kakashi, I want to improve so much. Chapter 30 Kakashi, I want to improve so much. If you refuse to cooperate, I will have no choice but to bring you to Konoha and negotiate with the Hidden Mist village, Jiraiya said as he squatted down. Kisame remained silent. He didn't dare to bear the cost of cooperation. Jiraiya was no longer polite and tied him up completely with ropes, and knocked Hoshigaki Kisame unconscious as well. The other two were just right for them to fall asleep. Oh, one of them might never wake up. Hong, there's no need to rescue them. Tie up the living ones and take them away. Yes. Uchiha and I stood up and then glanced at Jingyan. In fact, even if she wanted to save him, she was powerless. She was just studying the situation and accumulating treatment experience. The injured ninja was at least 14 or 15 years old, probably a chunin from the Hidden Mist village. The situation was critical at that time. Jingyan came over instantly and knocked the person who attacked her away with a punch result. It was just such a simple punch. This person's heart was almost shattered, and now he is most likely suffering from massive intracavitary hemorrhage. She couldn't cure it. What a powerful force! Has he fully mastered Lady Tsunade's supernatural powers? Xihong secretly observed Jingyan, and a trace of envy and admiration flashed through her heart. Jingyan hadn't been able to master it before, but now he can use it freely without getting hurt. What a terrifying rate of progress. 2 or 3 months ago, she would have thought it was a gift from nature. But now, she sees it differently. Behind the rapid progress, Jingyan and Kakashi have also made efforts that others can hardly imagine. He must have been practicing day and night in the past few days. Master Jiraiya, is this over? Yes, Mr. Songshan, we can continue on our way to Cardo. Okay, thank you. If it weren't for you and your 3 men, I would definitely be in trouble this time. Ikiro Matsuyama was very grateful. At the same time, deep hatred flashed in his eyes. Damn Cardo, our Songshan family did business with him sincerely, but he wanted to eat us up. I will make him pay the price. Then, Ikiro Matsuyama's eyes showed hatred. Mr. Jiraiya, can you accept another commission from me? If it's about killing Cardo, Jiraiya hesitated for a moment, but finally shook his head. I may not be able to give you an answer right away. Why? Ikiro Matsuyama was puzzled. Jiraiya explained. According to what you said, Cardo is now a relatively important force in the Wave Country, and the situation in the Wave Country is complicated. My every move may send unusual signals to the outside world. Hey, I understand. Let's go. At least we have to finish this business. Ikiro Matsuyama sighed. Heading northeast. When they got near the street, Kakashi finally woke up. He opened his eyes, still confused, but immediately woke up after seeing the situation around him. Are you unconscious then and many more? Kakashi's face turned pale and he immediately jumped off the toad's back. He saw 2 people tied up and tied to the back of the carriage. The hidden mist ninja seemed to have missed something very important. Jiraiya sensed that Kakashi had woken up and immediately slowed down, moving from the front to the middle. Jiraiya, your men are awake. If there is nothing else, I will go back first. Okay, thanks. Jiraiya thanked him politely. The iron-armed toad nodded slightly and then disappeared on the spot. Kakashi bowed immediately. I'm sorry, Sensei. I fell unconscious at the critical moment of the mission. I'm not worthy of being a ninja. Both his eyes and his tone revealed that what he said was indeed what he thought. Jiraiya was helpless. This child's ideas are really too extreme! Mission first. This is not a very important task. He scanned the area and had an idea in mind. He immediately said seriously, Kakashi, you shouldn't apologize to me, but to your teammates because they are the ones who need you the most. Kakashi looked at Kyouhiko and Kurenai behind him. He immediately understood what Jiraiya meant. To Jiraiya, his strength was not worth mentioning. The ones who needed him the most were Kyouhiko and Kurenai, but he was not there during the battle, of course. The course of events was not as dangerous as Kakashi had imagined. Although Kurenai was almost attacked at close range, in fact, Jiraiya had been paying attention to the battle between Kyouhiko and Kurenai, and the iron-armed toad was also nearby. If they really encounter danger, the iron-armed toad will definitely protect them. Jiraiya finished speaking and went back to the front. Kakashi stepped back. After they met, before he spoke, Kurenai had already said gently, Kakashi, I'm glad you're okay. Next time, you must not practice until you pass out, understand? He looked at Jingyan and Kurenai. His mask twitched several times, but he didn't know what to say. Kakashi thought of many scenarios such as Jingyan would sneer at him, saying that he didn't follow the rules and didn't contribute in the mission. Maybe you would say he is trash. Sunset Red. Although he has a gentle personality, he may not be treated kindly by others. After all, he is a burden, but Jingyan didn't say anything, and Yuhikiran comforted him gently, not thinking that he was a burden or a nuisance. Kakashi was stunned. But I couldn't help. You don't have to feel sorry. We all have shortcomings and deficiencies, so we need to help and rely on each other and stick together as a team. Besides, the mission is not very important. As long as we are safe, it doesn't matter. Jingyan looks young, but his tone of voice is very mature. But then, he changed the subject. But you should apologize what? The sunset is red and confused. She thought Jingyan would comfort her, but the conversation turned out to be different. Kakashi was a little confused and didn't understand what Jingyan wanted to say. As a ninja, you should be responsible for your teammates and partners. I know this even though I just graduated. You knew you had a mission today, but you still practiced all night yesterday? Even if you weren't unconscious, how much better could you have performed? You might even have harmed your teammates. Jingyan said seriously. I'm sorry, I wanted to master this technique so badly. I won't do this next time. Kakashi stated seriously. These past 2 days he really wanted to catch up with Jingyan. Although Kyouhiko said that he had been practicing similar techniques, Kakashi knew that Kyouhiko had never had such advanced chakra techniques before. Even if there is, it starts with practicing water escape. About a month at most. In 1 month, Jingyan made rapid progress. What about him? Almost standing still. Kakashi is clearly aware of this, and also aware of the shortcomings of his own abilities, which is why he is madly eager to become stronger. However, this is indeed irrational. Whether it is the mission or the partner, Kakashi blamed himself immensely. Jingyan was standing aside, secretly happy in his heart. Although the process and circumstances were different, the results seemed to have met expectations. Next, I hope to make Kakashi truly understand the meaning of teamwork and partnership, also according to the reward mechanism. If the impact on the goal is significant, the reward received is often related to the other party's strongest point. Kakashi, you have to improve quickly. End of this chapter. Chapter 31. The peace of the ninja world rests on you. Chapter 31. The peace of the ninja world rests on you, the country of waves. After crossing the bridge and the forest, you will reach the largest island. Gradually, some houses can be seen here. The island is bustling with people coming and going. There was a commotion in the pub ahead, and bursts of cheerful laughter were heard. There are not only warriors inside, but also some ordinary people. In addition, there were many customers in other entertainment places on the street. Jiraiya's eyes widened and he could hardly walk. The land of waves is indeed completely different from later generations. This is normal. Today, the country of waves has not yet been completely monopolized by cargo for shipping, and all ships traveling on the sea stop here. When the crew get off the ship, they naturally spend lavishly. The current prosperity and bustle of the wave country is not surprising, but once the shipping business is monopolized, the wealth of the entire wave country will be swept away by cargo. Jingyan couldn't help but ponder. Is the land of waves profitable? The interests he considers are certainly not his own interests. The wave country seems peaceful now, but in fact, there are undercurrents and forces from all sides. It is extremely difficult for him, a mere genin, to gain benefits from it, but, as the owner of the Hokage System, if he could link the interests of Konoha and the land of waves, he might be able to get a reward. Kyouhiko pondered over it, his eyes flicking towards Jiraiya. If he wants to change the overall situation of the village, he certainly can't do it by himself. He has to start with Jiraiya, but don't be in a hurry! Exclamation inside the house. The still young Cardo greeted him with a smile, but when he saw Hashigaki Kisame and another mist ninja behind Jiraiya, his face suddenly stiffened and his smile became unnatural. Who are these two? Cardo pointed at Hashigaki Kisame and the others. Kiro Matsuyama sneered in his heart, still pretending to be confused. They are ninjas from the hidden mist village. They wanted to ambush us on the way. Fortunately, Master Jiraiya protected us. Otherwise, I might not be able to see you. Kiro Matsuyama sneered, as if he was ready to call someone to account as soon as they met. Cardo glanced at Jiraiya and his eyelids jumped. Sigh, comes by itself, you heard that right. The three ninjas were very famous, and although he had never seen them, he had heard of them at sea. Ikiro Matsuyama was so powerful that he could even invite one of the three ninjas to lead the guard. No wonder the Kirigakure ninja didn't take it down. This could it be that Konoha also has some ideas about the land of waves? Cardo's heartbeat quickened and his mind went blank. Are you Jiraiya? Ah. Jiraiya nodded. He didn't have a very good impression of Cardo. Cardo's reaction just now proved that the ninjas from the Hidden Mist village were indeed related to him. This guy does business dishonestly. Ikiro Matsuyama looked unhappy. Cardo, these people weren't sent by you, were they? How could that be? I, Cardo, have always been trustworthy in business and would never do such a thing. It must be a hostile businessman who is smearing me. Cardo was wronged and there was no way he would admit it. Ikiro Matsuyama snorted coldly. It's better this way. Although our Songchen family is only a small family, if something like this really happens, you will definitely not get any benefits. Yes, of course. I, Cardo, am definitely not that kind of person. Cardo swore again and again, but his eyes were fixed on Jiraiya, Kyouhiko, Kakashi, and Kurenai Yuhai. 3 children. It doesn't look like Konoha wants to intervene, but rather Jiraiya led the team to accept the commission from the Matsuyama family. He felt a little relieved. Even so, Cardo still didn't dare to act recklessly, and subsequent transactions with Ikiro Matsuyama went terribly smoothly. Jiraiya-sama, thank you for this trip. After leaving Cardo, Ikiro Matsuyama breathed a sigh of relief. If it weren't for Jiraiya, he would have definitely died on the road, or even if he had met Cardo, the transaction would not have turned out as smoothly as it did and he saw further. This guy Cardo is a lunatic, he's not here to do business at all. Ikiro Matsuyama cursed. Jiraiya didn't speak. He understands. Ikiro Matsuyama said this probably because he hoped that he could take action and wipe out the Cardo forces, but Jiraiya is also very confused now. Peace, war. He had many confused and conflicting thoughts and ideas in his mind, and he could not find a satisfactory answer. Just like the land of waves. Will Konoha's intervention bring about new conflicts and wars, and eventually lead to the destruction of the land of waves just like the Uchiha village back then? So, Mr. Songchen, after you finished your deal with Cardo, are you heading back home now or do you have new business? Jingyan saw that Jiraiya was confused and asked from the side. Now the key is still the mission. Ikiro Matsuyama immediately said, I still have a few businesses. Please continue to protect me. I will increase the price according to the difficulty of the commission. So be it. Jiraiya nodded. In the evening, thanks to Ikiro Matsuyama, they stayed in the most luxurious hotel in Wave Country. Located on the mountain side of the island, you can overlook the land of waves from above. Jiraiya was deep in thought facing the wind when suddenly there was a sound beside him. Teacher, are you thinking about Wave Country, Cardo and the others? Okay. Jiraiya turned his head. It's Jingyan. He sat on the edge of the rooftop, thought for a moment, and expressed what was on his mind. The land of waves is very prosperous, but beneath the prosperity, there are many invisible waves. Mr. Songchen has always wanted us to intervene, but what I'm thinking is it good or bad for us to intervene? Are you worried that your intervention will trigger a new war? Kyouhiko understood Jiraiya's mentality. At present, the Wave Country has at least not caused a major conflict, and all parties are in a restrained and peaceful posture. He was worried that if Konoha intervened, it would ignite a new war. Jiraiya nodded and sighed. Yes. The ninja world is in a delicate balance right now, so peace can be maintained. Any conflict may cause changes, but after a few seconds, he burst into laughter. Jingyan's thoughts were too mature. making him ignore the fact that the other person was actually less than 8 years old. Talking about this with Jingyan, no matter how smart you are, it would probably be hard to understand, right? Jiraiya patted Kyouhiko's shoulder, trying to change the subject. Just as he was about to speak, he heard the child next to him ask, "I don't think Cardo is a good person." Okay? Jiraiya was confused for a while. How does it get to Cardo? He was surprised for a moment, then couldn't help wanting to laugh. Also, children tend to judge based on likes and dislikes rather than benefits. Jiraiya smiled and said, "Kato doesn't seem like a good guy, but this is an internal matter of the Land of Waves." But now the Land of Water and the Hidden Mist Village are intervening. Jingyan's voice was childish but firm. "I don't understand what you mean by balance and conflict, but I know that the more the enemy wants to do something, the more we must not let them do it." Your idea, Jiraiya, was stunned. Enemy. In your eyes, is the Hidden Mist Village an enemy? Isn't that right? Even if we want peace, it's clear that they don't think so, right? If we make unilateral efforts for peace, the other side won't appreciate it. Instead, they will think we are weak and can be bullied. Jingyan answered. His thoughts surprised Jiraiya. Peace is mutual. So this is how the child understands it. Jiraiya fell into deep thought. He thought about it for a long time. "I do not know what." Jingyan was stunned for a moment. Jiraiya said in a deep voice, "Although I am your teacher, I am also exploring and searching for the concepts and solutions of peace and war. Teacher, the peace of the ninja world depends on you. You have to stand up." Jingyan looked serious. Jiraiya couldn't hold back what he heard. He stroked Kyouhiko's hair, a bright smile on his face. "It's difficult for our generation to find the answer. The peace of the ninja world still depends on the efforts of your generation." The two of them pulled each other. Jingyan said seriously, "Teacher, let's talk about Cardo first. I plan to find out what Cardo wants to do, and then decide what to do next." Jiraiya said, his expression slightly serious. "I will send a shadow clone over there. Now that we have captured the ninjas from the Hidden Mist Village, it is hard to say what they will do next. You must also be vigilant." "Yes." Jingyan stood up. Then he thought for a moment and said, "I'll go talk to Kakashi. He seems to be worried. I feel relieved to have you here. I can do more things in my spare time." Jiraiya laughed. Jingyan rolled his eyes and said, "Just don't spare any time to search the streets for information." That kind of place is the most informed. I'm not here for that kind of thing." "No, you damned brat, you're only 7 or 8 years old, how do you know so much?" Jiraiya retorted, "You're not a good person either." For a moment, the rooftop was filled with heated debate. End of this chapter. Chapter 32. Which one is more important? I want them all. Chapter 32. Which one is more important? I want them all! Kakashi, we finally have a hot spring with few people around. Are you really not going to take a bath? Sunset Red Road. Kakashi shook his head. Take a bath? Delaying practice. His mind was full of rolling balls, and he didn't want to think about anything else until he mastered it. Although we have been able to do it initially, there is still a long way to go before we can master it. Still have to work hard. Kakashi maintained the ball in his hand, but soon he couldn't hold it anymore and it quickly relaxed. Learned. But I haven't fully learned it. However, Kakashi has only been in contact with it for a few days, which is already a very fast learning speed. Jingyan watched from outside. Seeing the scene, he walked in immediately. Let's go together. The bathhouse is right next to each other, so we'll have someone to look after us if we get attacked. Kakashi hesitated for a moment and asked, "What about them?" Of course, they are referring to the 2 Kirigakure ninjas. Jingyan said, "The teacher is watching, don't worry. Let's go, talk and relax, maybe it will be easier to master it." Having said that, he didn't give Kakashi a chance to choose and went into the house on his own. Kakashi hesitated for a moment, but finally followed suit. Put on your clothes and take off your mask. The two of them soaked in the hot spring attached to the hotel and felt all the fatigue of the day disappear, but Kakashi glanced at it from the corner of his eye and couldn't help but think of what happened during the day. As Jingyan and the others said, many missions are not that important, so delaying them for a while is not a problem. But if Jingyan is the same as he was in the past, he couldn't be like Jingyan. Which is right and wrong? He had no answer in his heart and was very confused. Leaning on the stone at the edge, Kakashi looked up at the starry sky and suddenly spoke. Kyouhiko. Okay? Jingyan was lying in the hot spring. His body was quite relaxed, but his mind was always paying attention to the outside world, and his chakra seeped out with the mist to avoid being ambushed nearby. Kakashi spoke, and he immediately regained his composure. At this moment, Kakashi had already sat up straight. His face without the mask looked very handsome, but full of confusion. I do not know how to say it. Just chatting. If you had to choose between a mission and a partner, which one would you choose? Kakashi seemed casual, but his upright sitting posture and nervous expression showed that he was not as calm as he appeared. This issue is a continuation of Hadake Sakumo's suicide. Jingyan must take this seriously. He thought about it for a long time. He didn't quite agree with Kakashi's later life. There was a crashing sound from next door. Apparently, Zuhai was also very curious about this and came closer to listen. Jingyan said, I think there is no standard answer to this question. According to the second Hokage, there are many things in the world that have no standard answers. How to say? Kakashi was confused and even more shocked. Could this issue also involve the second Hokage? According to his previous thinking, there was only one answer: the mission is more important! He has always done this in the past, but recently, various things have gradually made him have new cognitions, which are in sharp conflict with his past cognitions. This is also the reason why he is restless. Jingyan answered. According to the second Hokage, everything is not black and white. We should make different choices based on different situations. For example, in a mission like today, should I abandon my teammates? Yes, Kakashi thought to himself. From his point of view, anyone who is not helpful to the mission and instead hinders it is undoubtedly a waste. Even if this person is himself now, he should be abandoned. At least we shouldn't waste our energy on protection, right? Our team has the ability to do both, so why give it up? Kakashi was stunned by the question. He pondered, thinking back to some of the trivial conflicts that had occurred in the 2 years since graduation. Yes, why? I stumped myself with the question right away. Kakashi was speechless. Next door, Kyouhiko was also puzzled by Kakashi's thinking, because Jingyan's decision seemed very normal to her. Isn't that what a ninja is supposed to do? Kakashi was silent for a long time, then said, so when should the mission come first? If we are on a mission to save more people and we are prepared to sacrifice before we set out, then in a desperate situation where we can only choose one, I will choose to prioritize the mission. Jingyan leaned against the stone. Tasks have different levels of importance. White Fang was indeed too impulsive, but the subsequent development of public opinion shows that there is nothing wrong with it. Jingyan also didn't believe it. Kakashi's eyes dimmed. So, the mission should come first? Jingyan tilted his head, looking confused. Did I say that before in vain? He was silent. Kakashi listened for a long time, but the last sentence was not as effective as the last one. Are you Yuan Shao too impressed? But Jingyan still couldn't comment on the matter of White Fang's suicide. Because the higher-ups said that White Fang died on a mission, not by suicide, the Jonins were naturally capable of knowing the truth, but Kyouhiko shouldn't have known it. He could only remain silent. Kakashi, you can't be so stubborn. There came Yuhai Kurai's shout from next door. Kakashi recovered, and after a moment of trance, he remembered what Jingyan had said before: this matter is not absolute and we cannot go to extremes. He was silent for a long time, then said, "Let me tell you a story. Would you like to listen?" "Of course." Jingyan sat up straighter. Kakashi said, "Once upon a time there was a samurai." He narrated the story of Hadake Sakumo in the early samurai stories. Then he asked carefully, "Do you think the warrior did the right thing?" "He may not be right, but this is something that I find very strange," Kyouhiko said in a serious tone. Kakashi was stunned for a moment and asked, "What's the matter?" If the samurai's companion was really not afraid of death, why did he return to the village alive? If he was really ready to die, why didn't he commit suicide after learning that his companion came back for him so that the samurai would give up saving him? Maybe it was not too late to go back, Jingyan asked in confusion. Kakashi was stunned. This he hadn't thought about it at all. Kakashi sat there in a daze, his brain completely confused for a moment. In the past, he only thought about whether his father was right or wrong, and never considered the situation of the person who was rescued. Yep, he was so righteous. Why didn't he commit suicide at that time and force his father to go back? Especially, that person should know what kind of person a samurai is, right? Otherwise, how could he become a partner? Kakashi blinked, speechless for a moment. Then, Jingyan stood up and wiped himself off. "I don't understand the deeper issues, but I think that warrior is amazing. Why? I've read some books recently, and I'm going to share my understanding of them with you." The problem he encountered is essentially, is a warrior a tool or a person? Jingyan said, his tone also full of confusion. "I don't have an answer." "Tool or person?" Kakashi muttered. It turns out that the problem lies here. He woke up as if from a dream, and then fell into new confusion. Which one is more important? Jingyan, this question is so profound, I haven't even thought of this. The voice of Uchiha came from next door. Jingyan shook his head. "I also read a lot of books, and there are similar problems in them." "Then how did he do it?" "Establishing ninja villages and schools, and stipulating that children can only participate in missions after they graduate at the age of 12, not only ensures the efficiency of mission execution, but also protects the lives of children," Jingyan answered. Kakashi and Uchiha immediately understood. "It's the second Hokage! There is another thing. In order to reduce casualties in the early years, Lady Tsunade, against all odds, implemented a system of medical ninjas accompanying the team." Medical ninja. Kakashi's vision gradually became clear. Although Jingyan didn't say it, he vaguely understood what the other party was thinking. Both missions and partners are important! Ninjas are not tools, their lives should be valued. After all, Jingyan's parents also died in the war. End of this chapter. Chapter 33, Knowledge Exchange, Team Exchange Meeting. Chapter 33, Knowledge Exchange, Team Exchange Meeting. Next door, Uchiha couldn't see their expressions. After a while, she heard the next door becoming increasingly quiet. "Have they finished washing?" She immediately scrubbed herself off and went outside, where she saw Kyouhiko and Kakashi as expected. "They are quite fast!" Jiraiya rushed outside and saw only two people resting in the yard. Neither of them was practicing. "What a rarity!" But she knew that Wanquin's words must have deeply touched both of them. This should be the most heartfelt conversation their team has ever had, right? Unfortunately, it seems that I was of no help. Let's practice and improve our medical ninjutsu and knowledge. Mastering medical ninjutsu is the best way to give back to your teammates. Jiraiya secretly made up her mind. Before going back, I must go to Konoha Hospital to take a look around and learn more, and master more medical knowledge as soon as possible. Kakashi is still practicing the Rasengan. As for Jingyan, he sat in his seat, looking at the panel and prompts, lost in thought. Name, Yashamine Kyouhiko. Age, 7 years old. Bloodline limit, none. Skill: transformation mastered, clone mastered, substitute mastered, instant body mastered, water style, water wave mastered, water style, water array wall mastered, shadow clone proficient, super strength proficient, white fang sword beginner. Never imagined the reward was indeed obtained, but it was not the Rasengan as expected. Through guidance, you gain the other party's complete trust. You gain a confidant reward. White Fang Knife Technique Beginner. At this moment, Kakashi's deepest and strongest mastery is indeed the swordsmanship inherited from his father. Beginner's Guide to White Tooth Knife Skills. Jingyan sat aside, carefully comprehending the memory. The knife technique was unexpectedly simple. Cut, stab, chop. The basic movements are all there is to it. But memorization involves many other techniques. Which part is more deadly? How to swing a knife more easily and quickly. This is a murderous sword technique! Even if you don't practice swordsmanship yourself, these techniques are very useful. After a while, he sighed inwardly. White teeth, not bad! The entry level is already like this, so you can imagine how terrifying White Fang's killing skills are. A knife born purely for killing. However, its owner, is a person with deep emotions, not just a tool. Jingyan sighed in his heart. If Haddock Sakumo were still alive and led the Anbu, then the Anbu ninja would be the real sharp knife. He pondered and comprehended, then picked up the kunai. Whoosh! The attacking action seems to have been improved. Comes with a free gift. Jingyan practiced and tried repeatedly, and finally came to the conclusion it has indeed improved. Combined with such terrifying killing skills, there is also White Fang's own talent. This is the foundation of White Fang's swordsmanship. The subsequent ninjutsu and ninja sword techniques are just breaks and tiles added later, and it all depends on personal ability. Rather than saying it's a sword technique, it's more about White Fang's skills and philosophy from this perspective. Although Kakashi's swordsmanship is very powerful, he has not yet found a way to use the swordsmanship that suits him. After he acquired Chidori and Sharingan, Kakashi gradually took shape. An assassination technique system centered around Chidori. What about yourself? Jingyan thought about it. Senju Tabarama's swordsmanship, combined with water style and flying thunder god, is difficult for me to imitate at the moment, and there is no need to imitate it completely. Instead, I should absorb concepts like the crescent moon dance, learn and integrate them even. How could swordsmanship be so inconvenient? Can't something with supernatural powers be used to make a knife? Jingyan's thoughts opened up and gradually became clearer, but in the early stages it is best to practice swordsmanship. Fusion requires extremely deep attainments. Only by understanding knives can one gain a deeper understanding of the White Fang knife skills, and then be able to integrate it with one's own abilities and transform it into a killing technique that suits oneself. Jingyan's eyes gradually cleared and he looked at Kakashi. As for swordsmanship, I still have to ask Kakashi for advice. He pondered for a moment and said, Kakashi, I want to learn swordsmanship. Can I ask you for your advice on swordsmanship? I can exchange my understanding of some ninjutsu for it. There is no need to exchange, right? It's just a sword technique, Kakashi said. You are still modest and declined. Let's learn from each other. Zihahong was sitting in the courtyard, holding a medical book in her hand. Jingyan nodded. Yes, let's learn from each other and exchange knowledge. It's like each of us has more knowledge. He immediately sat down and greeted Zihahong. Hong, come along too. As he spoke, Jingyan carefully sensed his surroundings to make sure no one was eavesdropping, and then he began to speak without waiting for the other two to comment. Jingyan first talked about the instant body movement technique. I can teleport faster. The secret lies in the control of chakra and muscles. The difference between a master-level teleportation technique and mastery is the more subtle control and use of power. He tried to explain as clearly and carefully as possible. Kakashi and Kurenai listened carefully. The former was good at speed and had worked very hard on the teleportation technique, so of course he quickly understood it. Sunset red is a little worse, but she gets the idea. However, the two looked at each other and then smiled bitterly. There is an insurmountable gap between knowing and doing. It is quite difficult for them! Even Kakashi doesn't dare to say that he can master it quickly in the short term, but it can be foreseen that as long as he masters some of the tricks, he will benefit greatly. It may be difficult, but our chakra and physical strength are limited. If we want to use the body flickering technique to increase our speed, we can only start with skills. We need to control speed when fighting against the enemy, but when escaping, the faster the better. Every bit of speed counts, Jingyan said. The two of them naturally understood the reason. Kakashi was silent for a moment, then stood up and bowed deeply. Thank you. In his eyes, Jingyan said that he was giving him swordsmanship instruction, but it was more likely that he wanted to pass on the secret to him. Jiraiya and I also bowed earnestly to express her gratitude. Kakashi thought for a long time. A hint of hesitation appeared on his face, and then he spoke. Maybe you have some admiration for my father's swordsmanship because of his reputation, but his swordsmanship is actually the simplest moves. He was worried that Jingyan would come here because of his fame and return disappointed. Jingyan said with a smile, it's the people who are powerful, not the techniques. The same ninjutsu may have very different effects in the hands of the teacher and me. This is normal. That's good. Kakashi breathed a sigh of relief. Zihai said anxiously, swordsmanship takes a long time, why don't you let me do it first? She doesn't want to take advantage of others for nothing. Ah, this is fine. Kakashi hesitated for a moment, then finally nodded and sat down. Zihai said softly, I know mostly illusions, and my skills are also related to illusions. As everyone knows, ordinary clone techniques are actually a kind of illusion. My father studied a kind of illusion clone. She slowly explained her ideas about the illusion clone. A combination of illusion and clone techniques. Jingyan and Kakashi listened carefully. Even if they don't know illusion, learning more skills and seeing some different ways of thinking can broaden their horizons and cognition. Yuhikura and I finished speaking in one breath. Then, she blushed and explained, during the previous Genin exam, I hadn't mastered the Naraku clone yet, so I didn't use it. This technique is very useful. You should learn it as soon as possible, Kakashi said immediately. Jingyan nodded. In individual combat, this illusion clone is not very useful, but it is different in team combat also. If we can nest illusions, the potential of this technique will be even greater. Nested illusion? Zairihong was stunned for a moment, then fell into deep thought. Using Naraku's clone to set off another illusion, that's an idea. Then it was Kakashi. He demonstrated the knife skills himself and explained them step by step. The other two followed suit. However, after studying for a while, Zairihong soon gave up. It only took 10 minutes from getting started to giving up. It's not that she is afraid of hardship, but after considering it, she feels that the current focus is still on medical skills and illusion. Learning one more sword technique would be distracting, but if you can learn the technique of teleportation, it can indeed increase your ability to survive. This is important. The sunset is secretly in my heart. Thanks to I love both wine and sweet potatoes for the 2,000 coins reward. End of this chapter. Chapter 34. Do you really think of me as the best actor? Chapter 34. Do you really think of me as the best actor? On the street, Jiraiya went to various special shops. After some inquiries, he got to know the general situation. Suddenly, he stopped. Someone is spying. Then, a hint of envy appeared on Jiraiya's face and he walked into the special shop with a chuckle. Soon, he was hugging each other in the house. A figure outside flashed by. It was already late at night after some conversation in the hotel. Kyouhiko practices using a kunai as a sword. He felt that as he practiced, his body was rapidly absorbing the skills that were rewarding him. Kakashi was standing by, his expression gradually becoming dull. It's not that Jingyan has reached the point where he can't be instructed. On the contrary, there are still many things that Jingyan doesn't understand, and his swordsmanship cannot be said to be very strong, but his posture and power generation are already very standard. Is this also a talent? He felt mixed emotions, then he sighed and focused on the instant body movement technique. Jingyan's secret is also useful to him! Kyouhiko was so focused that he didn't notice Kakashi's subtle changes in mood. He was thinking about the white fang knife technique. If there is a target in front of you, swordsmanship is naturally simple, but what if there is an enemy in front of you? Jingyan imagined it and swung the sword carefully with every move. After a long time, they dispersed. Go to bed that night. Jingyan was sleeping soundly when he suddenly felt a slight movement instinctively. He opened his eyes and sat up abruptly, his hand immediately grasping the kunai beside him, as if it was his life instinct. Cuck! The kunai stabbed into the wooden board, and a little toad jumped in fright and huddled in the corner. Jingyan was slightly startled, then put away his kunai. I'm sorry, I thought it was an enemy. It's okay, it's all Jiraiya's fault. If he hadn't asked me to send it here in the middle of the night, this wouldn't have happened. The little toad is quite open-minded. He jumped in front of Jingyan, then looked at Jingyan and said immediately, Jiraiya asked me to tell you that during his investigation, he found that there were ninjas following him. He is not sure which side they are from. What do you mean, teacher? He will be lurking later, so you don't have to worry, but don't be too relaxed. In short, you have to watch and control it. What? Jingyan was speechless. Don't act too relaxed. Too many requests. Do you really think I'm the best actor? Just tell yourself that this is a scam. Jingyan thought for a while and said, please report back to the teacher. I will try my best, but I am only a genin. It is good. The little toad disappeared immediately. Jingyan stood up to drink some water and glanced outside. The mountain forest is shrouded in mist at night. He carefully refined the chakra and allowed it to permeate out. Through contact with the mist, I confirmed that there was no sign of chakra influence around, which made me feel much more relieved. Someone is following Jiraiya, the hidden mist ninja. Jingyan thought for a long time, then got up and went to the next room. Hearing the footsteps, Hashigaki Kisame stared with his green eyes, his eyes filled with despair. If I didn't know Kirigakure's virtue, he might have been deceived. All of Kirigakure's genin have fought their way through mountains of corpses and seas of blood. Can this little difficulty scare them? It's another one. He was in a bad condition before, and Kyouhiko tried, but there was still no improvement. Now he can only maintain the life of the hidden mist village and be Kyouhiko's patient by the way. Jingyan simply closed his eyes and took a rest on the first floor where they were held. Kisame closed his eyes and sighed. This little kid wakes up at the slightest noise. He's so troublesome. He finally found an opportunity. Pity. If they meet one-on-one in the wild, Kisame is confident that he can defeat the opponent with the advantage of terrain and various ninjutsu, and escape again, but with his chakra sealed, his whole body tied up, and only able to rely on 2 fingers to break the ropes, he really had no confidence in defeating the enemy in front of him. Hey! Who would have thought that I would meet Jiraiya if he falls into the hands of such a ninja? Sealing techniques would be too easy for him, a genin, to escape. Kisame looked at the ceiling and sighed in his heart. Soon, upstairs, Kakashi poked his head out, and when he saw that it was Jingyan downstairs, he shrank back in relief. But that location should be the corridor outside Matsuyama Ikiro. He stayed in the corridor to prevent Ikiro Matsuyama from falling into danger. Putting aside Kakashi's personality, he is indeed a trustworthy teammate when it comes to missions and rarely fails to perform well. It's quite painful to stand in the perspective of the teammate who is disliked by him. The fact that Obito and Rin could get along with Kakashi in the future was because they had such good personalities. If it were him, he would have given Kakashi a serious warning on the first day. Later, he relied on his strength to intimidate the enemy little by little and stabilize the situation. Otherwise, he and Hong would be treated like Abido and Rin. Just thinking about it. At this moment, the fog gradually became heavier. Jingyan suddenly opened his eyes, his mind immediately focused and his gaze fixed in an instant. The thick fog at night is often not noticed, especially here near the mountains, but the chakra in the mist is as eye-catching as a firefly. This is the mist hiding technique! Jingyan extracted his chakra and slowly infiltrated the surrounding fog. In the thick fog, wisps of murderous aura surged, making him feel like a thorn in his back. A trace of cold sweat broke out on his forehead. Fortunately, Jiraiya was just lurking in the room behind them and didn't really leave, so he could provide them with assistance at any time should cold sweat broke out on Jingyan's forehead. Whoosh! In an instant, Zirai Hong fell in front of Jingyan. The next moment, retreat. Go protect Mr. Sanshin. He is our target. Jingyan shouted softly. Zirai Hong is not as fast as him, and rushing over in this situation would be tantamount to seeking death. But at worst, I can just give up on both of them, Jingyan said. Kyouhiko hesitated for a moment, then nodded and went upstairs to help Kakashi protect his employer. At this time, wow! Jingyan turned around and slashed, and the kunai cut through like a knife, but the opponent's head turned into water in an instant, and the arm with the other hand swelled up and attacked him. Water escape! Huge water wrist technique! A hideous sneer appeared on Man Yu's lips. But then boom! The person in front of him turned into a piece of wood. What Coast Lantern full moon shocked. The opponent actually used teleportation to leaving behind a change in the form of a substitute. A little concealing technique combined with the teleportation technique deceived him. Not only that, the first time, the opponent dodged the assassination and hit him on the head with a kunai. The second time, he used the instant body movement technique and the substitution technique to trick him. This level, the little brat from Konoha is no ordinary genin! He turned around and saw that the other party had already jumped to the second floor and completed the seal in midair. Immediately, waves of water poured down from above. Kill him with a stream of water. Kizuna didn't dare to underestimate his opponent anymore. He treated Jingyan as an equal in strength and retreated immediately. Next moment, Zizi. The electric current came from above, and as the water flow swept around, both Kisame and his companion were struck by lightning. Kizuna Mangetsu ran fast and was not affected by the lightning attack. Instead, the repeated attacks did not result in any success, and the opponent instead forced them into a miserable state, which was really embarrassing. Kizuna Mangetsu was about to attack again. Stop playing and take the people away. A cold voice came from the fog. Yes. The next moment, a knife broke through the fog and rushed over. Judging from the style, it should be a beheading sword. Jingyan frowned. Beheading sword, would use their other Kirigakure Jonin in the dark. End of this chapter. Chapter 35. I used to be able to run until I got punched in the knee. Chapter 35. I used to be able to run until I got punched in the knee in the attic. Kakashi's eyes revealed a solemn look. Jonin of Kirigakure, be careful. Abandon the Kirigakure ninja and let them take their people away. Just be afraid. Kakashi hesitated to speak. The enemy may not come to rescue people, but also to kill their employers or have some ideas about them. He had sensed it just now. It seemed that the teacher had gone out quietly, and they alone did not have the ability to fight against the enemy's Jonin. If that's the case, then stop it with all your might and let Hong lead the others away. Jingyan gritted his teeth. In the mist, Biwajuzing sneered. You little brats, how much money are you willing to risk your life for? Lay down your weapons and I'll consider giving you a chance to live, otherwise I'll kill you all. Want to catch them? Kakashi's heart sank. This is the worst possible outcome. At this moment, the fog was so thick that one could not see clearly what was happening 3 or 4 steps away. Follow me. Jingyan called out softly. He was able to rely on the dissipation of chakra to barely sense his surroundings so as not to be like a headless fly. Kakashi nodded silently, holding the white fang and hiding behind him. The next moment, Jingyan disappeared in an instant. Original place, boom exclamation. The beheading knife cut off a large piece of the wooden board. Kyouhiko and Kakashi all disappeared in an instant and were beside Kisame in the blink of an eye. However, they did not run away. Instead, they approached Mangetsu, who was beside Hoshigaki Kisame. Sizizi exclamation lightning release, ground walking. Kakashi and I are very in sync. Before, when the fog was not too thick, Jingyan attacked for the first time and the opponent's body turned into water directly. But the second time, he used lightning escape to coordinate with Jingyan's water escape and the opponent chose to dodge. The other party may be afraid of thunder escape exclamation Gui Deng Man you immediately dodged, but at that moment, the accumulated water on the ground suddenly rose up and turned into a rotating vortex. A special water array wall that rotates and shrinks under the control of the caster. The difference is this time, the purpose of the water array wall is not for defense, so there is no need to control its strength. Just scan and cover the ghost lantern full moon with a waterfall. Kakashi increased his chakra output, and lightning immediately spread all around. Even because of the mist and water droplets, the air was filled with the paralyzing feeling of lightning. The water rose, submerging the full moon and the ghost lantern. He had originally used water to clone himself, but the water was spinning and spreading all around like raindrops. A strong electric current flowed through them and into him. When lightning struck, Gui Deng Man Yu's mind went blank. Bang exclamation with a sound. Mangetsu Kizuki, who had moved away in an instant, fell from the sky and leaned awkwardly on Kisame, whose rope was half untied. He had no idea after only attacking Jingyan 2 or 3 times. The opponent saw through his weakness and used ninjutsu accurately and flexibly, catching him off guard and being hit by the lightning-style ninjutsu. At this moment he couldn't move. The wall of water fell, and Kakashi attacked with a sword, but his body was still able to turn into water and was not killed by the blade. Water transformation is not afraid of swords and knives. The ghost lantern full moon is restored. The next moment, a big knife ruthlessly chopped off his head and came straight towards Kakashi. In the mist, Lo Kuat Shizingseng looked hideous however. Below, Jingyan crouched down with a kunai in his hand and rushed forward in one step. The kunai pierced through Mangetsu Kizuna's body and went straight to his heart. So fast. Biwajuzeng's pupils shrank and he quickly raised his foot and kicked towards the kunai. He is extremely fast. According to Biwajuzeng's judgment, it would be difficult for the opponent to dodge this kick. Snapped exclamation. Jingyan's right hand was hit by a solid kick, and the kunai did fly out, but he grabbed Biwajuzo's foot with his backhand careful. Hoshigaki Kisame, who was still tied up nearby, widened his eyes. He understands so well. This black-haired kid looks ordinary, but he is actually the most vicious. The purpose of his kunai at this moment is not to assassinate, but to attract Biwajuzo's attention. The real killer move is the other hand. That kind of terrifying power was enough to make Biwajuzo, who had underestimated him, suffer a great loss, especially at the moment of kicking him away. When Biwajuzeng heard the reminder, the hairs on his body stood up immediately. He immediately retracted his foot late. Jingyan grabbed it with his right hand, and although he quickly broke free, it was enough. Speed up the left hand to count points. In an instant, the killing move has arrived! Exclamation. The only vital point in front of me is knee. Jingyan immediately made a judgment in his mind. The fist smashed down. The gathered chakra exploded rapidly, transforming into a terrifying airflow along with the fist. Gala. Kyouhiko's super strength is not as strong as Tsunade's, but it is also a terrifying power that Biwajuzo can hardly imagine. In an instant, Biwajuzo's knees went weak. With just one punch, his knee was almost dislocated and his bones were broken. He almost lost his balance and was about to fall to the ground. Fortunately, he immediately used his sword to support himself. He underestimated the situation and ended up in disaster. Cold sweat oozed from his forehead, his eyes were bloodshot, and he was extremely angry. At this moment, Biwajuzu wanted to kill Kyouhiko with his beheading sword, but at this moment, he was not considering killing anyone, but trying to protect himself as much as possible. When the beheading sword moved sideways to block Kakashi's white fang short blade, however, Jingyan is more difficult to deal with, especially because of his terrifying strength. The veins on Biwajuzu's forehead were throbbing. Pufferfish ghost, why don't you take action? Kill this little ghost for me. It was you who kept me from having to take action, and now it's you who is making me take action. From outside the fog, another voice was heard. Go. Jingyan glanced at him out of the corner of his eye. The ghost lantern full moon is about to recover. Kakashi stabbed into Mangetsu Kizuki's body again. It didn't do much harm, but it was extremely insulting because the knife contained lightning chakra, which was enough to paralyze Mangetsu again and make him unable to move. He had just recovered a little when he was immediately unable to move again and could only watch Kyouhiko, Kakashi, and Hoshigaki Kisame escape. As for Biwajuzu, his current attack range is only within the reach of half a step plus the beheading sword, and he is unable to reach any further. Biwajuzu, what a shame. The Ziguashin puffer ghost laughed wantonly. As a Jonin and an existence of their level, he was actually tricked by a genin brat, and his knee was damaged so that he could not move quickly. It's a joke. If Biwajuzu had been honest and worked with Hazuki Manu to rescue people, they would have taken the people away by now. Biwajuzu looked unhappy. I thought I could take them down with just 1 or 2 moves, but who would have thought that these 2 kids were so slippery and not just ordinary genin? He is indeed in a very sorry state now. If he has another chance, he will definitely not underestimate this black-haired kid. But the most urgent thing is to solve the problem first. He said coldly, Jiraiya may come back at any time. We must move quickly to catch them. You don't need to remind me. The watermelon mountain puffer ghost's hands moved extremely quickly, and its seemingly burly and fat body was also quite agile. It caught up with Kyouhiko and Kakashi in a few instants. Then, every strand of hair flew out and flew forward like thousands of strands. Kakashi's exposed face turned pale instantly. The other party wants to capture them alive! How to do? Jingyan stood in front of him and raised Hoshigaki Kisame in his hand. Tuck tuck tuck! Strands of hair pierced into the body. There was despair in Kisame's eyes. End of this chapter. Chapter 36, Caught the Ghost Lantern Clan, so it's not empty-handed. Chapter 36, Catching the Ghost Lantern Clan is not in vain! The watermelon mountain puffer ghost raised his mouth slightly, his hair and mist covering his face, and his simhata suddenly swept towards Jingyan's side. Kakashi immediately stepped forward, but soon he felt there was something wrong with the knife. It seemed to be absorbing his chakra. Whoosh! With a scrape of simhata, Kisame was cut by the knife, but he was able to break the ropes on his body in the end. He gritted his teeth and endured the pain, kicking Jingyan back to break free. The Ziguashin puffer ghost was agile and flipped the blade over and slashed again. Although Jingyan dodged, the chakra condensed in his hand was completely devoured. Can't fight! Jingyan cursed inwardly, finally understanding how painful it was to fight simhata. The 2 men turned and ran away. The puffer ghost immediately chased after him again with a hideous smile on his face. Seeing this, Kakashi immediately said, You go first, I'll stop him. No, I want to go. Jingyan's voice had just fallen. The watermelon mountain puffer demon's face changed. He grabbed Hoshigaki Kisame, turned around and ran towards Biwajuzu, Hazuki Mangetsu and the others, but halfway through the run, he changed direction again, and it turned out to be give up those 2. Kakashi was stunned. He turned his head to look at Jingyan, his face full of confusion. Why did he run away suddenly? The teacher took action. Jingyan whispered. He stopped and breathed a sigh of relief. Jiraiya closes the net. Although the watermelon mountain puffer ghost was scared away, it was not a loss, at least if we could catch one of the other two, but what a pity, the Ziguashan puffer ghost must have been reminded by Simhata. Otherwise he would not have been able to detect it. Quack exclamation. Just as they were relaxing their vigilance, they heard a frog croaking nearby. Then, a toad jumped out, with Jiraiya following behind it. He looked depressed. Teacher. Jingyan breathed a sigh of relief. It turned out that Jiraiya had been following them. Even if the watermelon mountain puffer demon really wanted to attack them, it would be difficult to kill them. At critical moments, Jiraiya is still reliable. Hey! Jiraiya sighed, unable to hide his sorrow. I worked so hard fishing, but the biggest one got away. The one with the big knife, Kakashi said. Jiraiya nodded. He is the watermelon mountain pufferfish demon. He has gained quite a reputation in recent years. I have always suspected that there is something strange about the knife in his hand. Today, my suspicion has been verified. His sword can absorb chakra, Kakashi replied. Jiraiya nodded, noticing that Kyouhiko looked thoughtful, and immediately asked, "What do you feel?" He wanted to go to your side at first, but he suddenly ran away. It didn't seem like he sensed the teacher, but he was aware of your presence in another way. Jingyan said. Jiraiya pondered for a moment and nodded. I had just crawled out of the toad's mouth and was using the barrier technique to trap him. Could it be chakra? Kakashi said immediately. Jingyan nodded. The only possibility is that he sensed the chakra of the barrier technique. This may be due to the characteristics of the sword. Knife. Jiraiya pondered. A sword that can absorb chakra. How weird. In recent years, the hidden mist village has also been restless, and the long-term peace is indeed like the moon in the water. He sighed to himself. Afterwards, Jiraiya comforted himself. Fortunately, those two didn't run away. One of them is from the Ghost Lantern clan and seems to be a genius. They will definitely not give up easily, so it's not like we went empty-handed. He took the lead and walked over there. Kakashi looked towards Kyouhiko, his eyes full of inquiry. Jingyan shook his head. After a while, they returned to the previous yard. In this courtyard, the flesh wall was lowering, revealing a person who was arrested and sealed, a can of water, and Jiraiya standing next to him. At the same time, Jiraiya who brought them here disappeared. This is just a shadow clone. Jingyan went forward. Loquat Shizang could not hide his depression, grief, and anger. As a Jonin, it was hard for him to comfort himself after suffering defeat at the hands of two genins in particular. In the end, he was captured alive because of this. If he hadn't been hit on the knee, he would definitely have been able to run away! Of course. This is just what Biwajuzo thinks in his heart. In fact, with their abilities, it was quite difficult for them to escape from Jiraiya. Jiraiya smiled and looked at the can of water beside him. If it wasn't for catching you, would I have to be so careful? The Hazumi clan, Orochimaru, will definitely be very happy! Hearing the name Orochimaru, Mingetsu Kizuna in the jar trembled with fear. At this moment, he is still far from his future level and is similar to Kyouhiko and Kakashi, belonging to the category of child genius, while Orochimaru is already a well-known vicious man in the ninja world. Unlike Jiraiya, I heard that Orochimaru loves doing research the most. As the master of the secret technique of water transformation, how could he not be afraid? However, he is now sealed in a jar and cannot move at all. Teacher, what should we do with them? Catch him and ask the hidden mist village to redeem him, or send him for research. Who knows, they might be able to find out the secret of the water transmutation technique. Jiraiya took great pains to catch Menzuki, but he certainly wasn't just sitting there doing nothing. The hidden mist village is different now than it was in the early years. Some simple characters are useless if captured. The hidden mist village might just pat their sleeves and give up on them. The Ghost Lantern clan is different. This clan has a very high status in the Hidden Mist village and has a strong say, which may be more important than capturing a senior ninja such as Jiraiya. Looked at the Kirigakure Jonin whose knee was shattered. It's really unacceptable for a Jonin like you to be beaten like this. Biwajuzo almost vomited blood. He never expected that he would be ambushed like this due to his carelessness for a moment. If it happens again, the situation will never be the same as it is now! He snorted coldly and closed his eyes without saying anything. You have failed. Anything you say is just an excuse. You are right not to say anything, Jingyan added. Biwajuzu opened his eyes and glared, but he had to admit that the kid in front of him was right. If you fail, everything you say is just an excuse. His voice was hoarse. What do you want? Not very good. Wait for your village to redeem him. Haha. A Jonin and a member of the Hazumi clan. They must be worth a lot, right? Biwajuzu remained silent, but felt relieved in his heart. At least you won't die. He is not afraid of death, but if he can live, no one wants to die in vain. Jiraiya created clones and imprisoned them. Then he went upstairs and found Akira Matsuyama, who was taken away and protected by Kurenai Yuhai. Akira Matsuyama was frightened by tonight's attack. He originally planned to purchase some more materials in the Wave Country, but he lost interest in it and decided to return home without staying any longer. Money can be earned again. If you lose your life, you really lose everything. The not-so-peaceful night soon came to an end. Kakashi, Kyouhiko, and Yuhai Kurenai sat together, and the atmosphere was silent for a while. After a while, Jingyan spoke first. Well, it's a bit unkind to hide it from everyone. I worried all night. Yuhai Kurenai stared. Kakashi didn't say anything, but he wanted to let Jingyan go first, which showed that he was determined to die. Result. In the end, Jiraiya didn't leave at all and kept hiding in the shadows. Okay, don't worry about these details. The result is good and the idea was decided by the teacher. I was woken up in the middle of the night without knowing it. End of this chapter. Chapter 37. We can support you too. Chapter 37. We can support you too! However. Next time, I will definitely fight alongside you. Sehihong promised firmly. What made her angry was not the concealment, but her inability to do anything. Kakashi was silent. The previous scenes were still surfacing in his mind, and he kept recalling the battle just now. The Hidden Mist Jonin and the genius of Hazuki. Even after being a ninja for 2.5 years, there were only a handful of opportunities to interact with each other like this. He recalled and found that Jingyan's speed and reaction are getting stronger and stronger. Especially today, both his reaction and shooting speed are several points faster than before. Or is the opponent's speed control stronger than before? Kakashi thought of his own predicament and immediately had an idea. After hesitating for a while, he finally spoke. He is now much less arrogant than he was at the beginning, not to mention. Although the person in front of me started slower than me, the talent he now displays is no less than mine. There is no shame in communicating and asking for advice. It would be shameful if you couldn't win and ended up dying on the battlefield. Jingyan, can I ask you how you practiced your reflexes? Reaction? Jingyan thought for a moment and said, I hung a dozen sandbags in the yard and used their chaotic counterattacks to train my hearing, positioning, judgment, and reaction. So far, I can't see any effect. It should be effective. Your reaction and speed control are much better than before. I will try this method when I go back. Thank you, Jingyan, Kakashi said. After getting the answer, he thought for a moment and had already thought of a return gift in his mind. Are you serious about sword training? Of course I'm serious. My idol is the second Hokage. I heard that he also practices swordsmanship, so I want to practice swordsmanship, and swordsmanship has indeed made me feel new progress. Kyouhiko replied. Dead people are so useful. regardless of whether it was said by the second Hokage or whether he really worshipped the second Hokage. As long as it was attributed to Tabarama Senju, no one would doubt its authenticity. At least Kakashi wouldn't doubt it. Kakashi nodded. After we return to the village, I will give you a Tibetan sword that your father once used. Only a real sword can help you practice real skills. He paused for a moment, then quickly explained, it's not a chakra weapon, it's just an ordinary samurai sword, but it's fine for practicing swordsmanship and daily use. If you don't mind, how can you dislike it? Jingyan was so happy that he couldn't contain himself. Although this is not the era of samurai, a qualified and reliable samurai sword is very expensive and difficult to collect, so he can't afford it now. I thought about it. I'll borrow the knife. I'll return it to you when I have enough money in the future. No need. Kakashi shook his head. I can't use so many swords by myself. There's no point in keeping them. When the time comes, pick the one that suits you best also. Jingyan pondered for a moment and did not refuse. It's not the throne, so why do you need to refuse it 3 times? Going back and communicating more with Kakashi and making progress together is better than anything else. Zihai Hong said, I think that we should maintain regular knowledge exchanges and make progress together as Jingyan suggested before. Like a library, Kakashi answered. Jingyan seemed to suddenly remember something and suggested, a single tree cannot make a forest, and a single leaf cannot make a fire. I think this kind of good thing cannot be done by just the 3 of us. We can let more people who are willing to join and share knowledge together. Hey, this is good. Uchiha-Kurenai's eyes lit up. Limited to their team, after changing positions, there are only a few types of knowledge and ninjutsu. We are all partners. It's really necessary. There's nothing wrong with teaching each other. Just as Jingyan said, knowledge can only reflect its true value when it is put to use. If we can pass on this idea and concept to more people, the value of knowledge will become higher and higher. Only for those who have joined? Kakashi asked. Jingyan nodded, of course, although we share knowledge to make each other stronger. If some people gain something without working, it will eventually affect everyone's enthusiasm for progress and innovation. I understand. Kakashi understood. As the 3 of them were chatting, they heard laughter outside. Nice suggestion, teacher. Kyouhiko, Kakashi, and Kurenai all stood up at the same time. Jiraiya sat down in the hall, waved his hand, then picked up the teacup beside him and drank a few cups. He said, it's confirmed. We will escort Mr. Sungshin back tomorrow, and then go directly back to Konoha to avoid any accidents. Yes. The next morning, the hotel was in a mess. The owner had done his best to repair it, but traces of yesterday's battle could still be seen. Kiro Matsuyama was frightened by what he saw and became more determined to leave early. You can make money any time. He didn't understand. Jiraiya, who on earth is Cardo, and how could he have so many ninjas from Kirigakure take action? Kiro Matsuyama is not a ninja, but he knows some things about ninjas. In any ninja village, a jonin is a rare ninja master. It is relatively rare to hire someone like Jiraiya to lead a team of genin at a low price. 2 jonin. If we take away his goods, I'm afraid we won't be able to make up for the price he paid for them, right? Jiraiya coughed lightly, not wanting to explain it too clearly. You can't say. The 2 jonin of Kirigakure originally had no intention of taking action, but he fished for a while, and finally 2 big fish took the bait and attacked him and his disciples. From an employer's perspective, this is not a good thing to do. However, he did find out a lot of information about Cardo. Cardo has a deep cooperation with the nobles of the Water Kingdom, and many of the nobles of the Water Kingdom who are related to their business support them behind the scenes. Jiraiya replied. After hearing this, Ikiro Matsuyama fell into deep thought, then looked up with a scream. They want to monopolize the shipping business. Monopoly on shipping? Jiraiya was stunned. Ikiro Matsuyama had a serious expression. Yes, most of the maritime trade between the Water Kingdom, Fire Kingdom, and Lightning Kingdom is conducted by sea transportation, and the Wave Kingdom plays a huge role in it. Jiraiya is not a businessman. In this regard, he is indeed not as sensitive as Akira Matsuyama, but when Akira Matsuyama mentioned it, he immediately understood that controlling the Wave Kingdom would be of great benefit to the Water Kingdom, and the same was true for the Fire Kingdom and the Thunder Kingdom. In the short term, Wave Country may become the center of contention. Jiraiya frowned. In this case, Konoha, the land of fire. He was still in deep thought. Akira Matsuyama whispered, Jiraiya, are you really not considering taking action in the land of waves? As long as you have this intention, I can help contact several families in Kyoto. There are people from the Water Country who are interested in the Wave Country, and naturally there are also people from the Fire Country who are interested in the Wave Country, but they are not strong enough to take over the business of Wave Country, and it depends on whether Konoha is willing to cooperate and help. Jiraiya pondered for a long time. Finally, he shook his head. Mr. Sungshin, this matter still needs to be finalized by the Hokage. If you need, I can help you convey it to the Hokage, but I can't say whether he will agree or not. Hey, if your third Hokage is willing, do I need to ask you for more help? Akira Matsuyama's voice became even lower. Jiraiya is speechless. He understood the truth, but his words were useless. He couldn't even optimize the ninja school system, let alone take action against the Wave Country under the current situation. I can only promise that I will report all the situations in Wave Country. That's fine. If there's any hope, Jiraiya, you must tell me. Many families in Kyoto anyway, you know. End of this chapter. Chapter 38 Hiruzen, you will regret it. Chapter 38 Hiruzen, you will regret it. The main gate of Konoha was right in front of us. Jiraiya turned around and couldn't help but smile. Do you feel any different after coming back this time? I want to become stronger. Next time, I'll be more useful. Zihahong's tone was firm. Kakashi was silent. He's been through a lot of this. Tell me your thoughts for a moment. I really couldn't put it into words. Some of them are impossible to express, such as he now really wants to find that person and why he was ready to die but later returned to Konoha alive. Why doesn't that person dare to commit suicide? But Kakashi hadn't seen that man in a long time. Maybe the other party entered the ambu or went somewhere else. As for the rest, he thought for a moment and said, I need to become even stronger. Become stronger? Jiraiya glanced at Kakashi, feeling a little worried and a little surprised. Kakashi has changed a lot now. He no longer looked like a lifeless tool like before, but more like a normal person. But his previous state of mind seemed to have turned into a pursuit of power. Only Kakashi himself knew what was in his heart. One careless mistake could lead to Jiraiya was secretly concerned. Compared to Kyouhiko, he felt that Kakashi needed more attention right now. After all, what the child said and did showed a very profound understanding of the Wool of Fire, which was almost unmatched at his age. If he didn't know that Kyouhiko was indeed the descendant of Momoka Senju, he would almost think that Kyouhiko was the descendant of the second Hokage, Tobirama Senju. Jiraiya looked towards Kyouhiko. What about you? Nothing special, just a feeling of coming home. Jingyan smiled. Not acting. He really felt happy to be home. It is better to live a peaceful and happy life at home than to fight and kill outside. Unfortunately, this idea is destined to be difficult to achieve in the ninja world. Who made these two old immortals watching in the dark? Jingyan sighed inwardly. Jiraiya smiled and said, Let's go home. I'll treat you to dinner. Barbecue? Barbecue is impossible. I, your teacher, am penniless now. I made a little money this time, but not much. I will treat you to a big meal after I exchange those two for some money. Now, I will treat you to a meal. Jiraiya coughed lightly. As he spoke, he led the way forward and entered Konoha. To the door. Heinda, Tsuchihara. It's Master Jiraiya, you're finally back. Jiraiya-sama. The two gatekeepers saluted immediately. When they saw Kyouhiko and Kurenai, they greeted them in a friendly manner, but when facing Kakashi, they did not have a very good attitude. Jiraiya smiled and said, "The commission is complete, please register it." Yes. Registration completed. Jiraiya originally wanted to take them straight to Ikaraku Ramen, however. Not long after entering the door, Jiraiya still sighed. It seems that I can't go eat ramen with you. You can tell Ikaraku to put the bill on me. If I can't come in time, you can eat first, it is good. Jingyan nodded. He knew that it must be an Anbu ninja who came and was discovered by Jiraiya, which is why he said that. The three of them left. Jiraiya also disappeared in an instant. Ikaraku Ramen House. After some greetings, a bowl of ramen was soon delivered to each of them. Hokage's office. Jiraiya reported the situation in the Land of Waves to Hiruzen. Hiruzen took a step forward, a look of surprise on his face. Are you telling the truth? All of this is information I personally gathered, so it should be true. I think Mr. Sonshin's judgment is also correct. Cardo and the nobles of the water country may want to control maritime shipping. Jiraiya said seriously. Hiruzen frowned. The country of waves. From the perspective of the land of water, mastering shipping can indeed make their business more convenient. They have the reason and ability to do so, but Konoha hesitated. Teacher. Jiraiya, do you think we should go out and fight for the land of waves? I think Jiraiya was equally hesitant. Hiruzen might not have given him as detailed instruction in training as he did to Orochimaru, but he did have a significant influence on him in terms of thinking peace. If it were in the past, he might have decided without hesitation that Konoha should not have taken action. Marching into the land of waves might cause the peace between the land of fire and the land of water to disappear, plunging them into war once again. However, Jingyan's words also echoed in his ears. They want peace, but does the Hidden Mist Village want peace? The 7 swords of the Hidden Mist Village, the Kizuna clan, and some information coming from the Land of Water in recent years, all show that the Hidden Mist Village is now worse than before. How can such a crazy village be peace-loving? Jiraiya thought about it and found it ridiculous. Thinking of this, he no longer had any hesitation. Teacher, let's not talk about the Land of Waves for now. Just talking about the Land of Water and the Hidden Mist Village, I feel that we shouldn't let them achieve their goals so easily. You should know the current situation of the Hidden Mist Village better than I do, right? Jiraiya said. As the Hokage controls the Anbu, he must have more information. He doesn't believe that his teacher doesn't know anything about it. Hiruzen was silent. He already understood what Jiraiya meant. Humph. At this moment, a cold snort came from outside. Then, Danzo opened the door and walked in. Hiruzen, even Jiraiya understands this truth, but you are trying every means to prevent me from doing things in the Land of Waves. Hiruzen said with an unwavering expression. Danzo. Jiraiya didn't interrupt. Although he felt that it was wrong to sit back and watch the situation develop, he did not think that someone as radical as Danzo could make any correct decisions. Although he has not yet figured out what to do, his ultimate goal is to achieve peace and stop the fighting, to prevent the war from affecting the Kingdom of Waves and causing the people of the Kingdom of Waves to suffer. If we let this guy take action, even if the Third Ninja World War doesn't happen, there will never be any good result for the Land of Waves. Why, are you still hesitating? That's enough. I'm the Hokage. I'm communicating with Jiraiya now, not discussing it with you. Hiruzen shouted, his tone very firm. Danzo's face was gloomy and uncertain, and after a while he left with a voice of hatred. Hiruzen, you will regret this. After he left, Hiruzen took a deep breath, sat down and smoked a cigarette, and finally said, Jiraiya, I am surprised that you would say such a thing. I thought you were the one who understood me the most. Teacher, I can understand that, but the Hidden Mist Village is too crazy. They simply won't understand our desire for peace. We can't use a gentle attitude to deal with such people. Jiraiya was stunned for a moment when he said this. I hadn't thought it through before, but my thoughts suddenly became clear at the last minute. Hiruzen held his pipe with one hand and rubbed his eyebrows with the other. Do you also think we should enter the land of waves? Uncertain, Jiraiya blurted out. Hiruzen looked at him in confusion. Jiraiya was slightly startled, then scratched his head. I can't think of a solution for the moment, but I feel that we really need to rest now. It's not a good idea to go to war with the Hidden Mist Village. Hiruzen was speechless for a while. This disciple has changed a lot in recent days. Who influenced you? Tsunade. No, Tsunade had left the village before. Figures flashed quickly through his mind, and the last image froze in his mind. Yashamine Kyouhiko. This young genin was praised by both Jiraiya and Tsunade. That child actually has such thinking. He is only 7 years old, right? A recent maybe 8 years old. Hiruzen looked dazed. Teacher. Ah, well, Jiraiya, what you said makes sense. How about this? Let's all think about what to do. I'll also think about how to negotiate with the Hidden Mist Village. How about we talk about it in a few days? It is good. End of this chapter. Chapter 39. Can't get either side. I understand. Chapter 39. Can't get either side. I understand. A familiar yard. Jingyan returned home, feeling a lot of emotions. He opened the door and stepped in, but was suddenly stunned. After leaving for a few days, this place was not as messy as he imagined. Instead, there were many more facilities. There are more sandbags. Secondly, some plants were planted in some places in the courtyard. Herbal medicine. However, the door and windows were covered with dust, and it looked like no one had entered. Jingyan opened the door, went in, and simply cleaned the room. So tired. He did not go to exercise immediately, but went to the study to look for a book. After searching for a long time, he finally found it. Swordsmanship Notes, Sword Skills. Jingyan opened it and found a summary of Senju Tabarama's swordsmanship. Judging from the ideas and thoughts, the sword techniques of subsequent swordsmen such as Crescent Moon Dance and Konoha-Good Yanagi all came from the ideas of Senju Tabarama. White Fang's thinking is assassination, one-shot kill. Senju Tabarama's idea is to use illusions, ninjutsu and many other means to cover up and create opportunities for himself to kill with one blow. Flying Thunder God Slash has a similar effect. As an enemy, Madara's evaluation of him as despicable is the greatest compliment to Senju Tabarama's tactical style. What about yourself? Jingyan read it carefully and formed the idea in his mind. He has no intention of perfecting his swordsmanship. For him, the knife is a form of training and sharpening. But the White Fang sword technique seemed to have also enhanced his reaction and ninja tool skills. No, to be precise, it should be the reaction speed and shooting speed of my hands. Jingyan thought carefully and finally summarized. In other words, White Fang's swordsmanship and thinking require extremely sharp judgment as well as amazing reaction and attack speed. Kakashi doesn't quite have these conditions. Even with the incredible speed of Minato Namikaze and Flying Thunder God, he can still control it with ease. This is talent. If Kakashi also possessed this kind of talent, he wouldn't really need the Sharingan at all, and he could control the Chidori to a level suitable for combat, of course. Kakashi's talent is not bad, but compared to Minato Namikaze and White Fang, he is still a level lower. I'm definitely not as talented as White Fang in this area, so I should take the advantages of both and make up for my own shortcomings as much as possible so that I can become stronger before the war comes. The ninja world today seems to have entered a brief period of peace, but in fact, conflicts and small-scale wars are occurring everywhere. It's not just the relationship between Konoha and the Hidden Mist village. The same is true between other villages. War may happen at any time, and we must never use the original concept of timeline and blindly wait for the opportunity. Enough rest. Practice. Jingyan went downstairs and continued to practice. In the evening, 7 or 8 sandbags surrounded him. He quickly knocked 3 of them away, then ducked his body and squeezed out from the gap, escaping to the periphery. As my strength improves and I become more familiar with the process, the current training is no longer effective. We need to create a mechanism and let the shadow clone control it. At night, Jingyan went to bed early however. Suddenly he woke up with a start, grabbed the kunai beside him, and rushed to the window in an instant. But the next moment, "Why are you so alert in the village, kid?" Jiraiya opened the window. Jingyan was stunned. Teacher? He put away his kunai and asked in surprise, "It's so late, why are you here instead of taking a rest?" "Let's talk to you." Jiraiya looked at it and was a little embarrassed. "Are you free?" "Of course." Jingyan stood up. Outside, Jiraiya was sitting on the roof. The moon is shining brightly in the sky. He held a glass of wine in one hand and juice in the other, and saw Jingyan patting the seat next to him. Kyouhiko went over and sat down. Jiraiya looked like he was worried. "Just drink the juice." "Ah." Jingyan took over and took a sip. "Orange juice. It tastes pretty good." Jiraiya drank his wine and then started talking to himself. Content, it's nothing more than the idea of peace. Same old tune. Jingyan was not surprised. With Jiraiya's personality, if it was not the land of waves but the land of rivers, and if the opponent was the land of wind, he might hesitate and not choose to interfere. The situations in Water Country and Hidden Mist Village are somewhat different. Talking about peace with them is like talking to a cow. It sounds like the current hesitation is partly due to the influence of the third Hokage, and secondly because of the worry about Konoha's current situation. If there is a conflict with the Hidden Mist village in the Land of Waves, the conflict will be further expanded and cause damage to Konoha. This is indeed a reasonable consideration. He listened quietly. Jiraiya said, "Kyouhiko, you are different from ordinary children. You always have surprising ideas and words. What do you think?" "Haha, I asked in vain. You said before that we should stop it." He took another sip and spoke as he drank. Rather than chatting with Jingyan, it would be more accurate to say that Jiraiya is now sorting out his thoughts on his own. He just needs someone to listen. But isn't Minato Namikaze in the village? That's fine. Maybe I can make some money. Jingyan closed his eyes and tried to suppress his sleepiness. As a child, being woken up in the middle of the night was really a sleepy thing, but Jiraiya's distress could not be solved by just one suggestion. He was too confused. Fortunately, Jiraiya's peace concept has not yet been completely consolidated, so there is still time. As for the stubborn old man like Saruto by Hiruzen, Jingyan, let him die. He listened quietly. After Jiraiya finished speaking and sighed, he asked, "Teacher, what you are worried about is that Konoha is not strong enough now, and you are afraid that interfering with the Land of Waves will cause a conflict with the Hidden Mist village, and the weakening of its strength will trigger more sieges from ninja villages, right?" "Well, there are considerations in this regard." Jiraiya nodded. Jingyan said, "I don't understand the governance of the village, nor do I understand the general situation of the ninja world or the confrontation between countries, but when I was a child, I would call my friends to fight with me. If I couldn't do anything, I could use candy and other things to make others join me. What's the point of talking about chivalry when facing such an evil sect like the Hidden Mist village?" Jiraiya was stunned for a second, then couldn't help but laugh. "Sugar, it's really a childish act. But it works. When children see candy, they basically can't move their feet. But how can a fight between countries or between ninja villages be as simple as a fight between children?" Jiraiya smiled. "Anything else? Keep going. According to my thinking, Wave Country is like a training ground. I and another person both want to train there. but the difference is that I don't want to monopolize it. If he wants to monopolize it, then I will pull others who don't want to monopolize it together to fight him. Let's fight together, Jiraiya frowned. The Wave Kingdom has a special position in maritime transportation, but it only benefits the Fire Kingdom and the Water Kingdom and does not have much benefit for other countries. How to unite? If I have to say, it's only the Hidden Cloud Village. The Hidden Cloud Village would not want to see either Konoha or the Hidden Mist Village obtain the Land of Waves. There is another way. I will find someone to disrupt the situation so that neither side can get anything. As for the others, I will find a way to deal with them later. Can't get either side? Jiraiya was stunned. Then he slapped his forehead. I'm so stupid. Jingyan, what you said makes sense. I already know the general direction, and the person I found is definitely an expert among experts. Jiraiya said this and quickly left. It looks like we should go find Orochimaru. If Orochimaru were to be left to the current situation, it might be difficult for him to pull the Wave Country to the Fire Country, but when it comes to sabotage and stirring up trouble, he is definitely an expert. Furthermore, another Danzo, who is also an expert in this area! Jiraiya cursed himself for being stupid. Such a simple thing actually requires Jingyan to remind me. Maybe I really have such a narrow mindset. End of this chapter. Chapter 40, I am the student of Jingyan? Chapter 40, I am the student of Jingyan? Outside the Ambu, Jiraiya found this place with difficulty. The voice arrives before the person arrives. Orochimaru, Orochimaru. Last time, you said you didn't want to get involved or help with the incident at the ninja school. You must help me this time. Although not everyone can join the Anbu, Jiraiya is obviously not one of them. He came with great force and was only looking for Orochimaru. Even Danzo's men couldn't easily stop him at this moment. Orochimaru had no choice but to put down the experiment in his hand. He walked out of the laboratory, closed the door carefully, and then said seriously, Jiraiya, you better have something important to say. This time it really happened, Jiraiya said. He invited Orochimaru to sit down and told him about what happened in the Land of Waves. Orochimaru narrowed his eyes slightly. This is quite interesting. However, what he cared more about was not the affairs of the Land of Waves, but the fact that Jiraiya would actually think of using such a method to destroy the Land of Water and the Hidden Mist Village. This is totally not Jiraiya's style. He put aside his impatience and said with a smile, Jiraiya, this matter is actually very simple. Didn't your teacher give you any suggestions? Teach me. Jiraiya's voice stuttered. Oh, have I become a student of Jingyan? This exclamation, he was confused. But after thinking about it carefully, he couldn't refute it. It can be said that the reason he has such an idea now is entirely due to Jingyan's help, however. That being said, Jiraiya simply couldn't bring himself to admit this in front of Orochimaru. Jiraiya's expression was stiff. Orochimaru raised the corner of his mouth slightly, revealing a happy smile. Okay, Jiraiya, no matter what the person who taught you means, the matter is actually very simple. The relevant people have to contribute to this matter. We are just helping. The people involved, the Fire Nation nobles, the Wave Nation? Jiraiya was thoughtful. Although they are not ninjas, they have the money to hire ninjas from other countries to deal with Kado and control shipping. Otherwise, do we have to wait for them to enjoy the fruits of success after we get everything done? After hearing this, Jiraiya couldn't help but hesitate. Ninja from another country. If ninjas from other countries intervene, the Wave Country might become a new battlefield just like the Rain Country. Stupid, I know what you are thinking from your expression. Orochimaru snorted coldly, whether they live or die, what does it have to do with us? If we don't intervene, will the Land of Waves become better under the influence of the Land of Water, the Hidden Mist Village, and Kado? You should be prepared to come to me. Stop bothering me and find someone else to teach you. After Orochimaru finished speaking, he glanced outside with dissatisfaction. Is this guy not from the Anbu? Can anyone from our Anbu come in casually? The Anbu ninja outside remained motionless. Jiraiya sighed helplessly and finally walked out of the Anbu. Next, I'm not really going to look for Jingyan, am I? I had taught Nagato, Minato, and the others before, and they were all quite capable, but when it came to this little brat as a teacher, I still have to rely on students for guidance. How embarrassing. Jiraiya, don't you have the ability to think? You can definitely use your brain to come up with a better and more perfect solution. Boom, boom, boom! Exclamation. Early in the morning, there was a knock on the window. Jingyan got up and wiped his eyes. The morning light was getting brighter outside. Who is it? He got up and saw Jiraiya sitting outside the window. Jiraiya's expression was dejected. Looks like I didn't get the answer I wanted. Jingyan got up and washed up. After a while, he went downstairs to open the door and invited Jiraiya to sit down. Teacher, didn't you say you went to see an expert and he didn't solve your problem? Yes, there is, but it's not what I want. Jiraiya took out a few rice balls and handed one to Jingyan, talking as he ate. Jingyan listened in silence. After a while, he finally understood what I meant. Jiraiya is the type who wants both. How can such a good thing happen? You don't agree with my idea either. Jiraiya saw it clearly. Jingyan chose his words carefully. In the end, he answered truthfully, too naive. Jiraiya sighed indeed. Even they can't think of such a difficult problem, so it's too difficult to ask a child to think about it. I really lost my mind! Perhaps the Kingdom of Thunder and the Kingdom of Soup will not be happy to see the Kingdom of Waves side with either of the two countries. They can serve as a help if we don't want to get the Kingdom of Waves. The Land of Thunder, the Land of Soup? You're right. Jiraiya was both surprised and delighted. If the purpose is just to maintain the neutrality of Wave Country, the help that can be recruited is not limited to Konoha or hired ninjas. The Hokage's office was filled with smoke. Hiruzen smacked his lips while smoking and looked out the window, while Jiraiya behind him was expressing his thoughts. He listened for a long time and finally sighed deeply. This approach, otherwise, if they are secretly controlled by Cardo's company and the Water Country, the Wave Country will be harmed, and the Hidden Mist Village can use the Wave Country as a transit point to sneak into and threaten our Fire Country at any time, Jiraiya said. He was not stupid, he just had a lucky mentality before. Those words from Kyouhiko and Orochimaru made him completely understand what they were thinking deep down. Can't give an exclamation if they retreat. Given the personalities of the Hidden Mist Village and the Land of Water, both the Land of Waves and the Land of Fire may be attacked by the Hidden Mist Village. Hiruzen frowned immediately. Jiraiya, teacher, there is no better way. Jiraiya said seriously. Hiruzen was silent. Jiraiya became anxious. Teacher, I'll think about it again. Hiruzen was frowning. The country of thunder and the country of soup. These two countries are indeed located above the Bay of Wave Country, and are countries that will be seriously affected by the shipping of Wave Country. No matter whether the Kingdom of Waves is controlled by the Kingdom of Water or the Kingdom of Fire, it is not what those countries want to see. If we want to keep the Wave Country neutral, we can indeed use it as a help. He thought for a long time and said, Jiraiya, in theory I think your idea is indeed feasible, but the specific implementation, I think we need to consider it carefully. At this moment, Jiraiya had a thought in his heart. The teacher is really old. Forcing the Wave Country to remain neutral is the best outcome imaginable. In the past, teachers could make decisions quickly and would not hesitate for a day or even consult with others. Maybe Jingyan is right. For some decisions, you still need to have the right to speak in order to truly implement them. And right now Jiraiya lowered his eyebrows and went to a place in Konoha. He had a vague idea in his mind. Jingyan was right. When it comes to fighting, there's no point in going it alone. The changes in the Wave Country may affect many people, including Konoha's business families. Among them was the Nara clan. These are all helpful, but Jiraiya sighed. Before this, he would never have imagined that one day he would push for something that could lead to a war. However, war, peace, the boundaries are too difficult to determine. He was speechless. In the past, he thought that mutual understanding and love could achieve peace, but at least for now, this idea seems too naive. End of this chapter. Alright, legends, that's it for today. Like, subscribe, and I'll meet you in the next audiobook.